can't find me. You may never wanna find me again. Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Boys night. Yes, we banned all the women from the show tonight. None of them are allowed to show up here. We're here for episode 52 of the Ballroom Podcast. It is men only, especially you guys in the chat. So don't let me catch any women in the chat either. But we're here to talk about a wide range of issues, and we got our lovely group of regulars here joining us. Orange Hat Reviews, coughing into the mic like you usually do. How you doing tonight, Orange?
Could have sworn I muted it, but yeah.
You just caught it.
Yeah, I'm doing good. How y'all doing?
Doing pretty well. Also joining us here, Mr. Rob Motto. You know, last week with your absence, Cassie took your spot as the most appeared personality here on the show tonight. But you got a chance to catch up now because she's not here yet. So how you feel?
Pretty good. This time next week I won't be on the Barroom Podcast because I'll be in like Nebraska or something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I'm excited to make the move. I got my paycheck today, so I can finally leave, and I'm looking forward to it.
Also joining us tonight, Mr. Rick Aragon. How you doing tonight, Ricky?
Yeah, well, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Well, what drink is that?
Well, it's a Coke Zero, and I'm here with my Whataburger, because apparently that's all I eat.
No cheese, no bacon, just a regular ass Whataburger.
We have a woman in the background.
No cheese, but no cheese and no pickles, as that's the way I like it.
For a second, I thought there was a woman in the background, but no, it's just Cassie. How you doing, Cassie?
Okay, man, just chilling. I totally lost track of time, but not that much though. Could have been worse, right?
Yeah, I almost wish that you were joined us last night for our discussion of the Transformers movie that's filmed in Brooklyn, a place that you probably know pretty well, involving a lot of Puerto Ricans and stuff like that.
Who got shot?
Surprisingly enough, there was a couple of machine deaths, but then they brought them back. So it was like, and no one ever stays dead. It's just all for the sake of a falsity in these movies now. Yeah, it wasn't a good movie. There was a lot of Puerto Rican accents. Guy reminded me of John Leguizamo, annoyed the crap out of me. So of course we all thought of you too. So you know.
But there was no Washington.
What is
Heights.
John Leguizamo? This motherfucker has pretended to be Italian for so long. What the fuck is he?
Oh, he claims to be Mr. Puerto Rico now, right? Isn't that like his shtick? Like he's King Puerto Rican?
I don't claim that, motherfucker. I'm just saying.
Well, you know,
No,
he also did play Toulouse-Lautrec.
Right, he's played Frenchman, he's played Italian, he's played all kinds of ethnicities. So he should shut the fuck up.
Bogota, Colombia.
He's Colombian?
He's Colombian.
That's
Man,
hilarious.
don't even disrespect Puerto Ricans ever again, bro. Don't be saying that he belongs to us. Fuck out of here.
Now, does he know Juan Valdez? Because I'm running low on coffee.
Of all the Colombian jokes you could have possibly made, that's the one you decide to go with?
I'm old school, and I'm also old, so you have to remember that.
Well, let's go ahead and introduce our guys who are in the chat with us here tonight. Doba Fett, who's here first. We got Drax the Clown here. Alex versus Evil. Neozo got another one for us. Let me try to see this one. The internet was once a place of free speech, but then it came war between barbots and those who fought for truth and free speech. I'm assuming you meant free speech. And the holy cons who dreamt of censorship and agenda. The war still goes on, and that's a Transformers reference. Yeah, I assume that because we just talked about it last night. But how you doing there, Neo? We got Zeal Dozer here. Hello, guys. And then the girl who ruined the entire dynamic just 4 minutes into the show. Doba Fett, thought it was boys' night, so a tomboy is allowed, I guess. I mean, hey, fair enough.
Yep.
BMG. Well, apparently he's not Puerto Rican, so I mean, he doesn't even know. Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say he doesn't even know what he is. So
he is such a moron. Not for nothing. Like someone that literally you've had so many like privileges of playing all these races that you don't belong to, and then he's gonna be out here bitching and whining that oh man, we aren't represented. It's like. You have gotten so much work that technically you shouldn't have even gotten. Can you just be grateful for what you've had and just shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
Well,
I could have sworn he played a Mexican in the frickin' Violent Night movie.
I don't know.
Well,
Apparently, we're all interchangeable.
I gotta
Any
be honest with you.
future-
Did Violent Night come out last year? Because that movie was just like a complete blur to me at this point.
Yeah.
It came out during Christmas.
Well, I'm
That
going
was
to
actually
do
a
some.
movie I didn't mind watching because he dies in the most horrible way.
That's good. Well, I'm going to do a little bit of research just to get a general idea of what he actually is, so that when he inevitably plays a role in which he's not playing his ethnicity, I will be sure to make sure to call him out for it. So
Yeah, I just looked it up. Bogota, Colombia.
I'm just curious,
Oh.
Cassie, as the Puerto Rican here. I'm curious as to why in the Heights everyone pronounced it as Washington Heights when they all spoke English flawlessly.
wait, there's Puerto Ricans that speak English flawlessly?
That's what I was saying.
Well, doesn't J-Lo speak English flawlessly?
I don't even
J-Lo
know.
speaks English.
I would like for her to please get a ethnicity test. Okay, I don't really want to claim her unless there's some proof. Okay.
Hey, she was the best Selena. We Mexicans will gladly take her. We've
Yeah.
adopted her as one of our own.
She's the
Yeah,
Bronx.
so-
J-Lo would literally die before she ever claims being a Mexican. You do understand that, right?
No, I mean she became famous because of a Mexican.
She
That's
will
facts.
dolphin dive into a wood chipper before she ever claims to be Mexican.
I mean, she technically did claim to be Mexican by playing Selena.
Her
Yeah.
parents, David Lopez and Guadalupe Rodriguez, were born in Puerto Rico and met in New York City.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
it's such
J-Lo.
a Puerto Rican thing that all Puerto Ricans just end up in New York.
Yeah.
Did they come
No
through
wonder
Ellis
it
Island?
sucks.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess my grandparents came from Puerto Rico to America when they were like 18 years old. That was like
Guadalupe.
Yeah.
That is.
really long
Isn't
time
that,
ago.
isn't that a name of like a town or some shit?
Well, there's a lot of Guadalupe. So it's like the Virgin of Guadalupe.
It's
Yeah.
very
Like every Hispanic woman over 50 is named
Religious.
Guadalupe.
common. I was gonna say it's a very common Mexican name, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Isn't it?
Lupe.
Well, isn't it also like a town in Mexico or some shit?
I'm sure it is.
there probably is.
Guadalupe is just one of those like old school names. It's like, if you're naming your kid that, like, you just giving them like no chance. So like naming your kid Esther. It's like you're just giving them no chance to succeed in life by naming your kid that. I mean, what are we
Olga.
doing here?
Olga
Yeah,
is so
Olga.
disgusting. Ugh.
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna name my child after a 70-year-old grandmother. And he'll have a fun time.
Here's what I would do when it comes to if I have kids. Well, my brother already did this with his kids. Grandparents are the middle name of the kid.
That's
That's how you
true
do it.
because my middle name is actually my grandmother's name on my father's side.
I was actually named after my grandfather, so his name is Robert. So I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you're right most of the time. 'cause-
Well,
Well, I mean,
my
at least
middle
they didn't
name
call
is
you
my
Bob,
great uncle's
so-
yeah,
name.
right.
As much as I don't like my own name,
Well,
I'll take it before Olga or fucking Prudence or some bullshit like that.
By the way, I finally figured out Cassie's last name, and I laughed hysterically when I found out. So,
You mean it's not Cage?
No, it's not.
surprisingly not.
I'll say that Jasmine is a very popular name among the Mexican Americans that I know, and I would
Puerto
love
Ricans
to name my
too.
daughter. Yeah, I'd love to name my daughter Jasmine.
Jasmine's a nice name for.
If I ever have a daughter, her name's gonna be JD Lane.
I don't know. It sounds too close to Jezebel for me. So
Yeah, that's really not a
great
name you want to name
Well,
your child.
my last name JEM, so it would be Gem. So her initials JEM, Gem.
Yeah, don't give your kid's name like Jezebel or Ahab or like Babylon or anything like that. It's
Babylon.
not
Who
very
would name? Well, would name their child Babylon.
You be surprised because there's a lot of dumb people in the world today, which we'll talk about here tonight. But before we get into the entertainment stuff, I want to start the show off hot and talk about the NBA Finals because Nikola Jović actually won the NBA championship. Now, let's rewind back here just a little bit. If you remember, we covered this story really a few months ago about how this guy, the star center for the Denver Nuggets, was supposed to win his third straight MVP. Like if you looked at his numbers, his numbers he's putting up basically like Shaq 2000 numbers at this point. Like he's averaging quite literally a triple double. His numbers were insane throughout the NBA playoffs. He was the runaway MVP, and there's no real doubt that he's the best player in the NBA right now. I'm not saying all time. I'm not putting him on like a top 10 list, but I'm saying right now he's the best player in the game. So what happened was earlier this year, a few people decided that they were going to run a campaign against him because he deservedly should have won his third straight MVP. But apparently they were upset because, well, he's white. And that's apparently the only reason why he's getting his third straight nomination. That's what Kendra Perkins said on ESPN's First Take. A few people started circling that narrative, and they ended up giving the MVP to Joel Embiid because they all thought that, well, he deserved it more than Jokic. It is funny how going back then they were saying that, well, the reason why he doesn't deserve his third straight MVP is, well, how many championships has he won? He hasn't made it to the finals yet. He doesn't deserve his third straight MVP. Well, he didn't get it, but he ended up making it to the finals. Denver Nuggets took out the Miami Heat in 5 games during the finals, and guess who got named finals MVP? The same guy who should have been named the regular season MVP on the same year. So you have a situation similar to what happened with the Atlanta Braves a few years ago when the dumbass commissioner of baseball decided that he was going to move the All-Star game out of Atlanta because Democrats were unhappy about a voting bill, which they completely lied about, by the way. And then in the same year, Atlanta won the World Series. So they got the last laugh at the end, and Djokovic got his last laugh in the end last night here too. So I believe he's the first Siberian star to win an NBA championship. There was a funny clip going on last night about they told him that the parade is on Thursday, but he got upset because he wants to go back home as soon as possible to go celebrate his title with the people of his country and whatnot. But yeah, should have gotten his third straight MVP, didn't. But I mean, the numbers he put up during the NBA playoffs were just insane. Last night in the clinching Game 5, he had 28 points, 16 rebounds, and 4 assists to help the Nuggets win their first NBA championship in franchise history. Not even Carmelo Anthony could win a title in Denver, but this guy has done it. It looks like the sky's the limit right now. We don't know. It's too early to say whether this will be a dynasty team or whatnot. But look, the guy is without question. Even though there shouldn't have been any question beforehand, he is the best player in the NBA right now. He's finally been redeemed. So all those people on ESPN and on Black Twitter can go sit and spin, as I like to say back in the day. But I just want to kind of get your guys' thoughts on this whole story. Rob, you're like the sports junkie here, so I'll start with you. What do you think about Denver finally winning the big one?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really nice story for them. It's their first finals, their first championship. So, hey, good for Denver, good for the Denver Nuggets. I haven't paid that much attention to Nikola Jokic in his career. It's really only this year that I've really paid attention, and he's an incredible player. He reminds me a lot of Dirk Nowitzki, who played for the Mavericks, and reminds me how competitive, even as great of a player he was. I think he won 2 NBA titles his entire time in Dallas. Because he was going up against Tim Duncan. He had great competition that he played against. You kind of feel like you wish there was more competition for him, because they kind of just powered through the NBA playoffs. I mean, the Suns were there for a little bit, but they just kind of blew right by them, the Lakers, and now the Heat. So you kind of wish the NBA was a little bit more competitive, a little bit more, had a little bit more back and forth in terms of a series. But, look, Kendrick Perkins, when he made these comments about Jokic, it was completely irresponsible. It was like, he's one of the greatest players at his position to ever play, and he's certainly one of the best players in the NBA. I think Joel Embiid had a strong finish to the season, which is why they could probably argue that they gave it to him, but he wasn't the best player, in the association this season. That was Nikola Jokic. So, they obviously got that wrong. That's the sports media loves doing this, by the way, especially ESPN talking heads. Like these people should know better. They played in the league, and yet they're just constantly trying to stoke division, stoke the fires of, well, hey, it's about race. It's about, not in a league that is what, 75%, 80% African American. Maybe it's, yeah. It's a joke. It's like the guy, and the joke that you would make that he's white, quote unquote white, because he's an Eastern European basketball player. It has nothing to do with quote unquote like white American culture. You know what I mean? So even that association is off base and inaccurate. So I feel bad for him. I feel bad for the Denver Nuggets that he doesn't get sort of his just due for how great of a season he gave. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And even if you wanted to argue that the MVP should be about what happens in the playoffs, most of these sports leagues, Major League Baseball, the NFL, NBA, it is a regular season award. So, but it comes down to the people having to defend their voting, because I think they picked not the best player for MVP this year.
Yep. And by the way, during the finals, he became the first player to ever drop 30 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists in a finals game. So another little notch on his belt there. Orange Hat, what's kind of your thoughts on this whole story?
Well, honestly, I have very little opinion of the NBA. I haven't really cared about the NBA since Space Jam. But if this guy earned it, which it does seem that he has, good on him. And if he's shunning all the racist critics and saying, "Oh, a white person is won it, surprise, surprise," turns out that white skin happens to be in the minority, because we all know that white men can't jump. But turns out that this guy is in the minority when it comes to the NBA. As y'all said, 85% of the NBA is black or people of color. So it's like, well, yeah, good on a minority for winning. I mean, inclusivity, diversity. All y'all motherfuckers want all that, but now you're all bitching because a white person got it. Here's the thing. He earned it. Good on him. That's my opinion on it. I can't really say much more on it.
It's sad because the whole, bringing up all this, race related things in the NBA instead of just actually discussing the context of the sport and who truly earned it based upon their merits, you cheapen the award itself. And someone, Joel, he is a good center, at least from when I did watch the Sixers a few years ago. And I'm sure that he did, exceptional this season, as long as he was healthy. But it's sad. It's sad that if he would have truly earned it and been the better man, like, it's meaningful. But like at this point, it seems as though it is cheapened. And did he really earn it at this point? And it doesn't, not to take away Joel Embiid's own, merits. I'm sure, he's a hardworking dude. He's definitely not someone to take lightly right beneath the rim. But yeah, it just cheapens the victory that he got. It's not really a victory, especially when you do break down the numbers and see what Nikola Jović actually.
Yeah, like I said, I told people like these Eastern European names, don't expect us to pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, it sucks that we can't just discuss basketball when watching basketball. It sucks we can't do this with every sport. Like, it always has to be the outside political landscape that influences decisions made, when really people go to these entertainment outlets to get away from that.
Yeah. My boy Vanya is actually from over there, so he would know how to pronounce this shit.
Yeah,
I would just say Jokic.
So Rick, why didn't you go to a Nuggets game while you were in Denver?
I didn't know they were playing. A and B. I went
Denver.
To. Well, I didn't know. I didn't know that they were playing at that time.
Yeah.
I went to see the Rockies, and I went to see the Rapids since they were playing at that time. Let me put it this way. First, The people who were saying that they didn't vote for Jokic because he didn't have a ring, they were doing this. Here, let me just show you what they were doing. They were grasping at straws. They were grasping at straws, trying to find an excuse to plausibly rationalize their exclusion and their flat out racist voting. They didn't vote for the best person. They voted for someone other than the best person because they couldn't tolerate voting for someone of a particular race. And so they voted for someone else, and they selected someone else based not so much on the numbers and on his skills. And I'm not diminishing the other player who won. They voted against Jokic because he's white, and they said, well, we can't have that. We can't have a white person because obviously Jokic is a beneficiary of white supremacy and systemic racism. That's why the Nuggets won. They didn't win because they had the best team and the best offense. They won because systemic racism kept the Heat from winning. That's their rationale. They're idiots. The sports journalists, they're apparently not interested in sports. We've seen this. I was thinking about this. We saw this with the NHL and their conniption fits about people not wearing the Pride warm up jerseys. These are the warm up jerseys. They're not regular jerseys. And they also had they forced the Kate Smith statue to be taken down because she sang a couple of questionable songs back in the 30s. Of course, we can't have that. We had was it Major League Baseball also? We had to move the All-Star game because obviously it was a new
Yeah,
Jim Crow.
we brought this up before. It's like
Yeah.
sports used to be the outlet of people coming together and putting their differences aside for a few hours just to watch a game. And now they've brought the division to the sports, to where people just stop watching sports altogether now because they don't want to deal with the division associated with it. So
Yeah, and then remember, was it last year where some poor man was calling out the Rockies mascot Dinger, and some people misheard it as something else.
yeah,
And even on MLB Network, one of the hosts tweeted out that we need to find this person and punish him. It was like, and he doubled down until it was made clear that he was not calling out anything other than poor Dinger.
and if you heard the audio, it's like you really have to like stretch to hear the N word out of what he said there. And then of course the guy probably wakes up the next morning completely unaware that half of Twitter is trying to ruin his entire life because they thought they heard a different word come out of his mouth that never came out in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it got to the point where when I went to the Rockies and to their gift shop, I took a picture of Dinger. I sent it to my friend Gabe, and I told them, I don't know why they have, the ultimate symbol of white supremacy here, because apparently poor Dinger is now an embodiment of racism. So the people who voted against Jokic, they're racist. Let's just be blunt. They're racist. They see everything through the prism of race, and it's strange because the NBA is predominantly black. So
Which is why it upsets them that the best player in the league right now is white.
this sports should be about merit, regardless of ethnicity or background. I mean, that's a whole. I mean, that's why Jackie Robinson is still so celebrated because he proved, at the beginning, that it is about
Like,
merit. It is
dude,
about skill. It's not about your race. And now we have the reverse.
There are people right now who will refuse to put Larry Bird in their top 10 because he's white. Like that.
Oh
That's
my God.
that's where we're at. I mean, that's
Fucking
the
retards.
exactly that's just where we're at right now. And
But
as far
that's
as our
this is the thing, and like sports is the ultimate meritocracy. Meaning,
Yes.
if you're the best, it does not matter where you come from, what you look like. Even if you're a man or a woman, because men are superior, just in general. But honestly, it's about what you bring to the table and how you compete against your peers, and like that is what should ultimately be celebrated. This is really incredibly embarrassing for the NBA because it's like, look, you've constantly pushed to have an international presence, a global presence, and what are you really saying? That it's more important that the person who wins an award for the most valuable player is black, that their skin color is what matters, not the overall performance or the best player that was produced by the NBA. That's what it should be. It should be, hey, look, this is the best of the best that was in our sport this year.
By the way, this picture right here on the right, that's Baby Joker wearing a Denver Nuggets sweater of 20. It was like 20 something years ago. What would they say? 23 years ago.
Why
So
does
in
he have a racket?
That's your takeaway of this picture? Tennis racket?
Well, no, because it reminds me of that other was it Serbian tennis player? Was it Djokovic? Who was that his name? Who didn't want to get the vaccine and he's now been punished?
Novak Djokovic.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what is it about Serbians who are causing such a uproar in the sports world?
Gee, they might have had a recent brush with a genocidal event.
Oh, come
Just
now.
saying.
Tito wasn't
Pick
Tito wasn't
one.
all that bad. But yeah, look, the NBA is remarkably race obsessed. These are the same people who don't even want to use the term owners because that would be offensive to the players. You can't, you're not an owner of a team.
Like I said, this is the softest brand of NBA players I've ever seen in my entire life. They're actively getting people kicked out of games because they're getting heckled at courtside. So they're literally stopping the game mid-game, like, "Hey, that guy's heckling me. Get him out of there." It's like, when did we get so soft? And why is it specifically with the NBA that seems to be softer than anyone else right now?
Well, at some point, chickens either come home to roost. You're going to chase off a lot of people from wanting to even watch your sport if you continue to go down this path. And that seems to be the only answer for these pieces of shit, honestly. Like, honestly, if you want to just be this basic bitch, then you're just a piece of shit. And there's nothing anyone can get me to do to go to a basketball game. It would have been like, hey, got some nice tickets to go see the Sixers. You think I would go? No, to make a 2-hour trip to fucking actually to watch these assholes play basketball, play a kids game that they're so fortunate enough to get paid millions of dollars to do. Fuck no. I'd rather sit on a toilet with freaking and be sick for all day than actually go travel 2 hours to see these asshole crybabies play.
I'm sure you change your mind if they gave you a suite for the WNBA in Los Angeles. I'm sure that'll change your mind, Cassie.
That not even people in LA want to pay money to see. Like they absolutely do not care.
But let's just call it what it is. The voters who voted against Jokic, they're racist. Just because you're black does not mean that you cannot be racist. You're racist. Mm-hmm. They were racist against a white person. They're racist against someone based.
Well, actually, racism involves power now, so we can't be racist because we don't have power.
That even taking that argument at face value, which is disingenuous in the first place, but it's like these are millionaire athletes, so that the whole like they have no power bullshit is ridiculous. The NBA actually, the players have the most power of any players association, and NBA NFL, MLB, NHL. So that argument, just you can throw it right out the window.
Yep. So yeah, hey, Joker got his revenge. He won his first NBA championship. He'll be doing his parade on Thursday, going back to his home country this weekend to celebrate. So all those people who were all in against him get wrecked, as the kids like to say.
But I'm curious, what do they say now? Now that he actually has a championship ring, what justifies them not voting for him back when they had the chance? What are they saying now? I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious what their response is now. Or is anyone going to call them out and say, hey, you got the guy that you said you didn't vote for specifically because he doesn't have a ring? He has a ring now. What's your excuse?
They just want to avoid even discussing it. They just want to sweep it under the rug every time. And if you address them, like I don't know if you guys saw the situation with what's her face from the WNBA, because previously she hates America. Now all of a sudden America hates so bad after the shit that she went through in Russia, right? And when she's asked about it, you people are weird for asking this shit. It's like, well, don't talk out of your ass. Don't do this stupid stuff. Then you won't have to be addressed with it later on.
Yep. Well, it just so happens that, our next string of topics is going to be about Hollywood people going completely insane. So let's go ahead and start it off with King Crazy, Elliot Page, or Ellen Page, or whatever you wants to call yourself this day. I don't know if Elliot is like the new name or the name of the demon that's in her head, because apparently this person claimed that voices in her head told her to be transgender, and then she just went along with it. So yeah, there's a whole lot going on here, but let's talk about Ellen Page admits to self-harm and hearing a voice in her head, choosing to self-mutilate, become a trans man. So this is one of those stories that, like you said, people tend to snitch on themselves quite a lot, and this is one of those stories where it was like, did anybody else pick up on what you just said, or we're just gonna pretend like she didn't say it? Actress Ellen Page recently admitted to self-harming herself and hearing a voice in her head telling her that she's transgender before she contacted a doctor and chose to mutilate her body to become a dude. So if you guys pretty much like know the story here, I guess she or he, I don't even care at this point, but this person, this individual, let's just call her that way, decided that she's going on talking about all of her little hidden secrets about the early stages in Hollywood. So she's talking about actresses who she slept with back in the day and stuff like that, and her road to being a trans man now. And everyone's propping her up because why? It's Pride Month, so yeah, why wouldn't you? In an expose in the LA Times, at the height of the COVID crisis, Paige went back to a cabin in the Canadian forest by herself and started to crack. And Amy Kaufman, who I guess did the interview here, reveals that this crack turned into full-blown self-harm as Paige tried to knock herself out. Took her knuckles to her face and pounded it over and over again until bruises formed. This is totally sane behavior. But keep in mind, these people are 100% normal. There's no mental illness behind any of this ideology whatsoever. The self-harm was reportedly done because all of the self-hatred that she had been pushing down for years, the discomfort that she felt in her own body, and the anger towards all of those who told her to repress her identity. So it's our fault that you were beating yourself up in a cabin somewhere. So that totally makes sense. After the self-harm, Paige revealed to Kaufman that she heard a voice told her, you don't have to feel this way. Paige explained, it was as if something in my brain turned around. The agonizing voice saying, no, you're not. No, you can't. Just switched and became very gentile and loving. It's like, oh, okay, maybe I am trans. It's like, why don't I explore that? It's like, you sound insane. Did you ever think that could possibly be a problem? Kaufman then reveals to Paige that a scheduled video consultation with a doctor discuss her transition into a man within the next few weeks of hearing this. So here's the story of events. She beat the crap out of herself. She started hearing voices in her head, and within the week, she decided that she's a man now. And Paige went to a doctor and reportedly scheduled a mutilation procedure. And November 2020, paying $12,000 to this Canadian clinic. So yay, Canada. I'm so glad you Canadians are taking L's right now. On December 2020, posted to the page claiming that she was trans and is now calling herself Elliot and using he, they pronouns. And then, the story is pretty much like there. You can see the full post of all this gobbledygook that this person wrote. Ever since coming out as trans, this person has now been like a hero to the LGBTQ community. They're propping her or him or they, whatever they identify themselves with, as a hero, as a standout to this community, which is totally normal. And you should totally let your kids be indoctrinated into it with no fighting back whatsoever. So I'll start off with you, Orange Hat. Where do we begin with this several red flags within a red flag of this story here about Elliot Page and her transition to manhood, quote unquote?
Well, we really do need to start at the beginning when her career started to become, bland. What happened after her career started sloping? Well, she said she was gay. People started noticing her again.
Yep.
Well, then gayness became not a big deal. Well, I'm getting married. Okay, and then people started noticing her again. Congratulations on your marriage and whatnot. Yay. And then she started sloping again. I'm trans. I'm a man. No, you're not.
You sure that this decision wasn't just the result of like blunt force trauma for you punching yourself in the head multiple times?
If this is in fact what happened to her and she started beating the shit out of herself, I'm surprised she didn't try doing a Me Too thing. But the fact that she actually has this much self-harm intent in her body, that she did this to herself, and then she felt the need to mutilate her body further and pretend to be something that she will never be, which is a man. She is not. She is a biological female, and she will always be that. No matter what she does to herself, she just mutilated herself further. That's all that it really is.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to be away from Hollywood, and she needs to be locked up in a mental institution with a straitjacket, and she needs to be heavily medicated and therapy, because honestly, it is a mental disorder. I'm sorry if I'm stating facts that are inconvenient, and I do apologize in advance if this gets your stream taken down. But that is the case in this case. She literally went to a cabin in the woods and physically assaulted herself because she thought she was hearing voices in her head saying that she was trans or that she should explore it. That is literally a textbook insanity plea.
Mm-hmm.
And textbook cry for help. So this woman is clearly nuts.
Look,
So, right before I let Cassie go, I just wanted to throw in a couple things that were brought up in the chat. First of all, yeah, she was one of the ones who backed the whole Jussie Smollett thing. And then I think recently, right before this article broke, she said that somebody gay bashed her while she was in LA, which, can you guys, if you're going to claim to get gay bashed, can you in this country?
Really?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that in West Hollywood, where it's just the worst place in the world to be gay, that you somehow some alt-right spur gay bashed you, and like, can we stop?
Did they
Just
say
stop
it was
the
MAGA
lie.
country?
Yeah, were they Nigerian too?
Did they pour bleach on you? Did they? Oh, by the way, did they bring a noose?
Yeah, were you going to Subway when this happened too? Was they
I'm pretty sure you don't enjoy the footlongs.
And just for context, West Hollywood is the San Francisco of LA. Okay,
Yes.
meaning it's not only gay friendly, it is a gay community. It's overwhelmingly a gay community. So
yeah,
that's
honestly,
hilarious.
it's so gay that if you're
fucking
straight,
freaking hate
people look
crime.
at you weird. Like, that's how gay the West Hollywood is.
Yeah.
She really should be getting the same treatment that Jussie Smollett is getting, because she faked a hate crime, or in all likelihood, she faked a hate crime, and by doing that, committed a hate crime.
By the way, this is another point I wanted to bring up before I go back to Cassie. It was confirmed actually that, remember the personal trainer with Kanye that he outed as like threatening him if he didn't stop talking about the Jews a few months ago? Well, apparently that same person is also involved with Elliot Page as their personal trainer as well. So people need to start looking into this guy, because apparently everyone that he's involved with seemed to go cuckoo bananas. So I'll shoot this one back over to you, Cassie, because I know you were going to make a point here.
Yeah, so knowing someone that works with, like, psych sort of, mentally ill individuals, you have to wonder what, like, these testosterone things that they're taking, all these effects have on the mind itself. Automatically, in order to actually legitimately be trans and not just claim you're trans, you have to have gender dysphoria. This is a mental illness of sorts. And when you're putting all these things into your body that are unnatural, you do have to wonder what effect that they do have on your brain. That's just the sad reality of the situation. And in America, we don't want to do these studies, but I hear that these studies are being conducted in other countries. So I'm actually curious to see how those studies are, seem to be resulting. And it's pretty obvious here that Ellen Elliott is mentally ill, perhaps to a far greater degree than just the basis of gender dysphoria itself, to the point of choosing to actually perform acts of self-harm. This person definitely needs help. People cannot continue to champion mental illness and continue to egg someone on. This tends to result in more self-harm and unfortunately self-termination. So not that I necessarily like Elliot Page by any means, but if you actually like all these people claim to give a fuck about people, why don't you actually convince these people to seek true help? The reality is the current state of transgenderism in in modern day, all of this is not alleviating people's issues. None of it is alleviating it. It's just now we're projecting other people's issues that aren't being handled appropriately onto everyone else. So instead of actually handling the people with the issues, you now make it my problem, our problem. This is the problem in general. We're not tackling what is the true problem, that these people are feeling some form of disconnection with their body. And instead of actually finding ways to get them to sort of feel content, you're doing all these things that prove statistically to just make things worse. Self-deletion amongst transgender individuals is very high. The things that you're doing, such as cutting off people's breasts, all these sex changes, are not depreciating these rates. If anything, it seems as though things are getting worse because you're making people believe that, oh, if I do this, then I can get what I want, when what they want is not technically obtainable, no matter what. You could do all these things to your body, but at the end of the day, it will not be what you want. You will not be a man. You will be a trans man. You will not be a woman. You will be a trans woman. There is huge negative effects to this stuff, especially when they do break down to you what these sex changes make you, like what are the side effects of these sex changes, of these operations. A lot of shit is absolutely mortifying. Some of these, like, genital changes take years to accomplish. The amount of stuff that you have to deal with is insane. If I was,
and it doesn't fix the problem at all. Like, these people are still extremely mentally disturbed. They came in extremely mentally disturbed. They're still mentally disturbed when they get the changes. And then because we're not addressing the actual problem, 45% of this community is killing themselves. I wonder why.
Yeah, and then they make it our problem instead of handling the problem. That's the biggest, most annoying thing to me. That's why I don't take any of this seriously. You can virtue signal all you want, but you're doing nothing good for anybody. You're just making it worse.
But that's how they always frame this story, just like what you were saying there. It's like, oh yeah, see, the problem, the reason why she's hurting herself is because you won't accept her gender identity. You're the one telling her to change. It's like, no, you're extremely mentally disturbed, as you have proven by your own self-admission. You need help. And you know what? If it's that bad, if you're going around stabbing yourself constantly and hearing voices in your head and beating the crap out of each other, out of yourself, maybe you need to be institutionalized. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe some of these people need to go back into the wacko basket, because maybe that's where they belong. But no one wants to have that conversation. They just want to be like, no, just let them mutilate themselves and then pretend to be the person who they can't be. And then if you don't accept that person for who they're not, then it's your problem.
I mean, is this the end of the road of exploitation? Because this is, I mean, certainly that's existed in Hollywood since its inception, but this is going so far where you're basically exploiting someone to such a degree. And again, this is somewhat sympathetic towards Elliot Page, because they're mutilating themselves to be a focal point in pop culture. It is the saddest, most pathetic, soulless kind of decision I think I've ever seen. It's truly haunting.
Yeah, I mean, look, personally, I don't think necessarily institutionalization is a good way to handle anything. Not because it doesn't necessarily solve the problem, but it has been proven that institutions tend to not treat people that are mentally ill of any kind humanely. It tends, especially being I actually had a family member that was in the Willowbrook State School, and if anybody knows that, that's what made Geraldo Rivera mega famous. These were children that were mentally ill and being treated worse than animals. So I don't necessarily agree with institutionalization, because it's proven that given the opportunity to take advantage of people who can't speak for themselves, it tends to end up very grotesque. Now, we do need to find a solution that actually helps the problem and addresses the problem while trying to instill, like, handling things humanely, obviously.
All right. Well, I just want to add some things here, trying to address it. Well, um, during the COVID pandemic, she at the time she went up to the cabin and beat herself up, and apparently heard a voice. And I don't know if it was a literal voice or maybe it's like a metaphorical voice. So I'm just going to assume that it's a metaphorical voice because I'm trying to be as generous as possible, telling her that she is trans. During the COVID pandemic, you know what I went through? I was furloughed. My mom literally dies the next day, and I was forced into isolation. I couldn't go out anywhere, despite living off, as my director pointed out, generous unemployment and stimulus checks. I was basically forced into de facto house arrest. The police threatened to fine anyone who would walk alone in the parks or was even alone in the parks. Everything was shut down. I did not have the luxury of going up to the cabins and beating myself up. So I have very little sympathy for her at this moment, for her to bemoan her sad state. I had my first panic attacks. My family, my friends, my family, my mom's friends could not gather for her funeral, and I'm supposed to feel sympathy for this woman at the time. This woman, no, I'm not doing that. Second, um, if I tell someone I'm beating myself up, physically, literally beating myself up, and I'm hearing a voice, even if it's a metaphorical voice telling me that I need to transition, the last thing that anyone should have done, especially this Canadian doctor, is said, "Oh yes, I will gladly chop off your breast for $12,000." At this point, I would have said, "You need to see a therapist. You need to see a psychiatrist." Not because I think you're insane. Let's just assume and be the most generous here and say that you really are transgender. That, I think, requires a lot of work, mental work as well as physical work. Instead of just literally rushing off, chopping off your breasts, I'm assuming, creating a fake penis, and just and demanding that everyone call you by another name and address you as a he.
I
You need to see someone. You need to work your way into this. What is most disturbing is this mad rush to get people to perform all these surgeries. There is just almost a stampede, from kids all down to adults. Without the psychological work, this should take years. This should not take weeks or months to rush out there and alter your body. You think? I mean, just look at someone like Jazz Jennings. Um, this individual, I think, tries to create a false vagina, but the body doesn't know that it's supposed to be there. It keeps trying to close it up because the body's not going to react the same way that your mind wants to react.
Yeah. Your body is telling you that, hey, this is unnatural. I'm gonna fix the
the
problem,
wound.
and you're trying to fix your. You're
Exactly.
trying to fight your own body. It's like,
And
and listen, but just real quick, I'm listening to this whole story, and I'm thinking to myself, like, who listens to that story in full, and then comes into like a doctor's office saying, okay, yeah, I want to be trans now because I've had a severe mental breakdown, and then last week, and now I want to mutilate my body, and then that person just goes, oh, okay, let's sign you up. It's like. There's a real sinister mindset like to this, right? There's something like really like evil attached to what's going on here. Like, this is a girl who clearly needs severe mental help, and it seems like everyone around her, whether in Hollywood or these doctors, wherever the case, they're just ensuring further her destruction rather than trying to get her help and pull her out of whatever she's going through right now. And there's not too much more that I can say right now outside of, look, I feel bad for her on just kind of a personal level, because you can tell that she's just mentally whacked in the head. Like there's just there had to have been some kind of like abuse that went on, whether it was in Hollywood, before Hollywood. But this woman's been fighting her demons mentally for quite some time now, and this is what it's come down to. And that people are like propping her up as a hero instead of realizing that this is someone who's in desperate, severe need of help.
I would imagine that if she really is transgender, and let's just assume that she is, a good psychiatrist, a good therapist would have said, first try out living as a man, but still maintaining all your your female physical parts, your breasts. Don't try to change. And get a lot of counseling and work your way towards this. Instead, what we're
But at
having
the same
now
time,
is a
just
mad
real
rush.
quick, at the same time, we're talking about a country in Canada now that's literally legalizing people just killing themselves. It's like, I don't feel like I want to be on this planet anymore. Can you help me die? It's like, oh yeah, sure. Like this is Canada now. This is the great socialized medicine country.
It's always this bizarre idea of benevolence. We're being kind to people by chopping off their breasts. We're being kind to people by literally killing them if they believe that they've reached the end of life. It's always compassionate. Almost a lot of evil is done through the idea of compassion, but it's not compassionate. It's not compassionate to take a person who, by her own admission, and I'm going to use her for the moment, her own admission, beats herself up physically and hears a voice, metaphorical or literal. Look, I think I went through a hell of a lot more than Elliot Page went through in those months, and I was not literally beating myself up. The most I had was a couple of panic attacks, and which I've never had in my life. But I did not think about hitting myself. I did not hear voices urging me on. I had a will to live. This is troubling. This woman who now is saying all of this has really done a terrible service to herself by doing all this and trying to not just convince herself that she's a man, but insisting that we go along with this. I don't understand why we're doing this. Look,
it's like you're telling us a story of absolute insanity, and you just want us to react to it like, oh no, it's totally normal. That anyone who doesn't believe this is normal, oh, you're the problem. It's like, really, we're the problem in this scenario? Did you not listen to her story?
If you believe, and I know I have no knowledge of people of anyone who is genuinely transgender, and I'm going to give leeway and say that there are people who do believe this, and who I have gender dysmorphia. Fine, but this person, if I'm a psychiatrist or I'm a therapist, and I hear, yes, you're beating yourself up, and you are hearing a voice or voices, I'm not going to recommend that you have radical physical surgery. I'm going to say you need to be in a hospital or in not, I don't want to say an asylum, but you need to be in some sort of care.
I mean, in all honesty, given her story, she might need to be in a psy ward. I mean, how much further do you need to go? Listen to that story. Do you need to get before you're actually in a psy ward?
But again, look, I mean, the thing she says, she beat herself up. She heard a voice urging her on. People, when people tell you, I hear voices, you're not going to think, oh yes, I'm going to agree with you or hear the voices. If they say that you are physically harming yourself, they're not going to say, oh yes, if you beat yourself up, the logical step is to cut off your breasts. I see those pictures and I'm horrified. I'm horrified because just removing them is not going to change your.
Well, let's not ignore the fact that she has fake abs too. There's nothing you could do to convince me that shit is real. Okay, her body has no definition. She looks like an Auschwitz fucking survivor. Not for nothing. You're gonna tell me those abs are real too? No, fuck out of here, bro. But this just feels like the same situation as what led to, Elvis dying, what led to Michael Jackson dying, a bunch of doctors being yes sirs and taking your fucking money. And this just seems to be the situation revolving around it. Like, if you're potentially like having schizophrenic episodes, yeah, it's time for you to see some special mental help in order to address this situation. Upon actually, how do you say it? Like basically getting to the bottom of her situation from a mental side. Maybe she didn't want to be trans. Maybe like we don't know. Like for you to just immediately jump the gun and just let's cut off your tits. Let's do the genital surgery. I don't know if she has genital surgery or not, but doing all of this when this person is mentally at their worst, this just screams to me that the healthcare field is clearly entirely money driven, and there should be liability to this level of just taking the health out of health care.
There won't be.
No, of course
any.
Not right now.
And I remember when that doctor in that in the Jazz Jennings Barbara Walters special said right there to the camera, she's 100% a girl. I mean, again, this is a medical doctor, and he apparently someone who is well versed in the body, saying that this person who is presented before him, Jazz, is 100% a girl. No, this person is not 100% a girl, not even 50%. There's no biological way that this person can be a girl. He may believe himself or she herself that she's female. I'm not about to argue the mental issue, and I'm not saying that she's nuts or Jazz is nuts. I'm just saying you can't make that kind of argument and call yourself a medical doctor. We have this. Any doctor who would have heard, assuming that a doctor heard that, yes, I hear voices, I heard a voice and I beat myself up. No doctor, ethical, would have said, yes, let's go ahead and schedule your surgery immediately. He or she would have said, we're going to schedule you for a mental health check, lock you up for 24 hours or 48 hours because you're harming yourself already. You're admitting that you're harming yourself and you're willing to go through radical surgery. That is irresponsible. That's just monstrous that you would allow that you would participate in that. Canada, I don't know what's up with you. Fidel Castro Jr. has done a number on his nation. If this is what is permitted,
Yeah,
allegedly Fidel Castro Jr. Just put that.
Like I said, I think we all know what the true issue here is. And then here we are, the entire Western world for the most part is celebrating this as it's something that needs to be celebrated rather than something that needs to be investigated. But we'll come back to this one just a little bit later on because there is another story that revolves back to this one. But let's jump over from one mentally unstable actress to another. Megan Fox. Remember, Megan Fox was like the it girl for a while, like 15 years ago, and then it seems like over the last couple of years she's also slowly begun to lose her mind because she's dipped into witchcraft over the last few years, and now she's threatening people for saying that she's turning her sons into girls. So this is a story that kind of started on social media and then kind of turned into like almost, I want to say nationwide news, but people started responding to it, and it was Robbie Starbuck, if you guys recall, is the guy. I know he's like associated with, used to be associated with Hollywood in some way. I don't know like his full story, but he's one of these like right-wing guys on Twitter that you guys see commentating on several current issues. And there was a photo going around the internet at the time. I think it might be in this article, but there was a photo going around at the time about Megan Fox walking her 3 sons who all look like girls now. Like they all look like dressed specifically like women. So it's a part of that, hey, we're not grooming children into alternate lifestyles even when we do it right in front of your face type of thing. So he made a comment about it, and then somehow it blew up to the fact that both Megan Fox and Brian Austin Green, which is the father of her sons, all comments on it, called him like a grifter and a horrible person and whatnot. Well, when word got back to Megan Fox about what Robbie said about the photo that was out there about her sons, she started spurting out and saying a whole bunch of crazy things. So, by the way, Megan Fox is in the upcoming Expendables 4 movie, which they just released a trailer for last week. It doesn't look very good. I think they probably should just give up on that one after 3. But she said that recently admitted to being a witch and has appeared to threaten to perform a carcass-eating ritual after she was accused of child abuse by Robbie Starbuck. So that's totally a normal reaction that you would have to something like this. Starbuck, who is the host of the Robbie Starbuck show, accused Fox of child abuse for dressing her sons up as girls. He wrote on Twitter, this is the original post, saying that these are Megan Fox's sons. We used to live in the same gated community. Our kids play at the park. I saw two of them have a full-blown breakdown, saying that they're being forced by their mom to wear girls' clothes as their nanny tried to console them. So this is here. This is the picture here. Was there other? Yeah, he did. He goes on to say that this is pure child abuse. Pray for them. So this is the picture of Megan Fox's kid. I'm trying to get it here, but it keeps moving on me right there. Yeah. So keep in mind, those are all boys. Those are all her sons, quote unquote, and that's how she decides to dress her severely underage kids. So this one got a whole bunch of traction on social media. It was like 8 million views at the time. I'm pretty sure it's gotten more than that. He followed up by saying that this is around 5 years ago, so they were younger here in this picture. There's another witness plus a nanny that said that the boys did this. It started with one and another one chimed in. The third child was not involved. Starbucks said that we knew California wouldn't do anything about it because the state celebrates this stuff and she's famous. Weirder wrinkle to this, I worked with Megan once in a small shoot about a year or so before she moved into our community. She was very nice to me, so I was shocked to see this happen later on. It's just a weird situation, but clearly those boys aren't happy. So he's situating that, Megan Fox is trying to push an agenda on her own kids. This wouldn't be a surprise. I mean, if you look at all these drag time story hours, look at how many parents are dragging their kids to that stuff. So it's not completely unheard of here. But when Megan found out about this, she got completely upset and spurred out about weird witchy things. So if you haven't been following the Megan Fox story here, she started dating Machine Gun Kelly a couple years ago, and all of a sudden they were all into like doing blood rituals and drinking each other's blood and doing like really crazy off the wall stuff. If you watch her like Instagram page, it's like really nutty stuff that she's doing out there right now. But so she responded to this because, like I said, it did circulate for a couple of days. It's like she said that, I really don't want to give you this attention, that you're clearly a clout chaser, but let me teach you something. Irregardless of how desperate you may be to become at any given time to acquire wealth, power, success, or fame, never use my children as leverage or social currency, especially under malevolent or erroneous pretense. Keep in mind, this is a witch saying don't use evil forces against her, which is very, very funny to me. Explaining my child's gender identity. Okay, so now it's a gender identity to gain attention for your political campaign, which he does not have a political campaign, has put you on the wrong side of the universe. Okay. Then says then she wrote, I have been burned at the stake by insecure, narcissistic, impotent little men like you many, many times, and I'm still here. So she's going on about some reincarnation nonsense right now. You effed with the wrong witch. So that was her full statement. And then on another statement here, one of her Instagram stories, she appears to threaten Starbucks with a carcass eating ritual, posting on her Instagram stories. Fox shared a screenshot of a New York Post article depicting a woman appearing to eat some kind of animal carcass and described it as a carcass eating ritual performed by witches. Fox put her own spin on the headline, saying that me outside of Rob Starbucks' house. So this was the picture here of the witch eating the dead carcass. So she's obviously very, very upset by this whole thing. I do think Robbie did respond to this. I have the quick follow-up right here. And he pretty much responded to her entire thing by saying that I have Jesus on my side, so I will never fear witchcraft. It says, basically just going on to the exact same things that I said earlier here. So they've been having this weird back and forth about this whole story for quite a while. But Megan Fox seems to be on the long list of actresses that have come out in the last year or so to admit publicly that they are witches and they're in the witchcraft. We had the whole thing with Emma Watson a few weeks ago. Vanessa Hudgens was another one. We had the Elizabeth Olsen one a year ago. The one who played Agatha in the the WandaVision show. Like all these Hollywood actors now are claiming that they're in the witchcraft. So take them at their word here. But what do you think of this whole situation? I'll start with Cassie and roll around here.
I couldn't help but notice that it seems like the older Megan Fox gets, the more she starts to look like Madonna, which is certainly not a good thing.
No. And she's not nearly as old as Madonna, which is even worse.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just, these people are just weird. Not for nothing. Dressing up your kids to be the opposite gender. I mean, look, if they choose to dress that way, it's fine, but they're genuinely fucking miserable. That's a whole other thing entirely. it's all, mental illness is just being paraded as a superpower nowadays, and it's not going to, if you care about anybody in society, it's good to note that it doesn't end well without addressing any potential situation. Megan Fox here is just being really weird. This is, I get it. I get the concept of wanting to shield your children from, commentary. So it's one of those things where it's like I can't say that anyone's necessarily like the hero. At the end of the day, you should probably just mind your business. But it is kind of strange. It's like, are your kids really? Are you promoting your kids to force them to dress that way? That's my main question. Are you influencing them to do this? And if so, that's wrong on you. Like for me personally, I used to like to wear boys' clothes as a kid. My parents did everything in their power to try and convince me otherwise. They wanted me to go to church and wear the dress. They wanted me to do all these things that I didn't want to do because that's what, being a girl entailed. But I rejected that as early as I possibly can think back to. And that was like a me choice. And they realized that, yeah, Cassie's just different than the average girl. And they didn't necessarily force me to wear the boys' clothes. No, like if anything, they didn't want me to, but they realized that, yeah, I'm kind of just my own person. And they kind of just accepted that for what it is, knowing that I wouldn't be one of these people that would want to get sex changes and all of that. Like that's insane. So like they definitely knew that there was nothing necessarily wrong with me. I just was a bit different in regards to how I wanted to dress and how I tend to act, generally speaking. Now that's the most concerning thing to me here. It's hard to believe that all three of your boys suddenly want to be girls, and this being an individualistic choice amongst three boys. It's very hard to believe that. Now I know kids can influence, other kids. I get that as well. But that just it means like my question is not answered. Is she influencing these boys to dress like a girl, to act like a girl? Or is this natural? Are all your children soy boys, I guess? I don't know. This is a terrible joke at this point, but yeah. It's just one of these things where it's just everything is just fucking weird. Megan Fox is fucking weird. It's not surprising that all three of her kids are fucked up because I mean, Machine Gun Kelly is also a weirdo. Like you have a weirdo family. That's just sadly what you're known for. Like when I look at this bullshit going on here.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring this picture up because this is also Megan Fox. Now, I know Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly apparently recently broke up, but this was their Halloween picture last year. And I'm thinking to yourself, imagine being like a mother of like three boys, especially I'm assuming they're at least, one of them's got to be like at least 10, so they're not quite teenage yet, but they're getting close to there. And then imagine like this is the type of pictures that your mom is taking and putting on social media, and then having to deal with whatever that is. So I can pretty much assume at this point that, maybe not the best time to be her sons right now. And they're probably going through a lot of trauma having this person as a mother too. But Rob, what do you think of this story?
I mean, look, Megan Fox has always struggled to kind of stay in the spotlight because she's not very talented. She doesn't offer much. Look, maybe I'm in the minority in terms of the general male population. I kind of never thought she was attractive. I know she got that big boost off of Transformers, and she did that movie where she played like a succubus high school cheerleader, Jennifer's Body, I think it was called. Coincidentally written by Diablo Cody, who also wrote Juno. Just kind of a terrible person in general. But Megan Fox has done this whole like hoary, witchy, porny kind of like poster girl to try to stay relevant, and she's had public relationships with Brian Austin Green and now Machine Gun Kelly, to the point where it's like, okay, you're not an actress, you show up in stuff here and there, you do these kind of weird photo shoots with your boyfriend. I don't know. Look, it's not somebody I pay attention to or think has much of anything to say. I think it's weird that she's forcing her kids to dress a certain way. Again, to stay relevant, to keep, perpetuating this thing that Hollywood wants to push out there. I don't know, but it's concerning, I guess. She look. This is just a person I don't think about that much. I think she's again struggling to stay relevant and stay in the spotlight just because she really has nothing to offer otherwise.
And Doba Fett asked the question, who you think went more batshit, Shia or Megan Fox? I would say that Shia's downfall was a lot more public than Megan's, but it looks like that Megan is way off the reservation now, at least compared to Shia. I mean, at least Shia at least seems like he's trying to put it back together, even though, I mean, with his history, who really knows? But I think they both kind of fell off the wall pretty hard there.
Here's the thing.
Like, dudes are propped up like I mean, women are propped up when they fail far more than men are. Men are completely just like ripped to shreds when you know they're effing up. Whereas women, it's like we're just going to prop this woman up as she's falling upward. It's just
well, and I personally think Shia LaBeouf has a lot more to offer in terms of being an actor. A couple movies from 2019, Honey Boy and Peanut Butter Falcon, were both very good movies, and that he did a great job in. So, I mean, I think that he just has a lot more to contribute when he's not, you know, batshit crazy or going off the reservation about Trump or, you know, some kind of political issue. Because he runs into that too, where he'll just dig himself a hole and, you know, self-sabotage himself.
Yeah, well, I will say that Shia LaBeouf has apparently undergone some sort of religious conversion, and I think he was playing Padre Pio, who was this Catholic mystic, and will be embracing Catholicism. If this is true, I wish him well, and I wish Megan Fox as well. I mean, yes, when she started out in Transformers, she was just nothing but eye candy, and nothing wrong with that. I will say that her response is not helping her case in saying that she's relatively sane. She could have just said, you know, my children are my business, and thank you for your concern, but we're all fine here, and that would have been the end of it. No, you have to say that I'm going to eat a carcass and and perform sort of witchcraft rituals on you. So that's not a positive response. As for her children, uh, I would just say that it is, like Cassie said, very strange that all three of the boys have suddenly have come to the conclusion that they're actual girls. So we don't know. We don't know if if any of the kids are sincere, or if they're just going along with this, or if they've been, and I don't want to use the word or the phrase, brainwashed into believing that they are girls, and that they're being forced into this. Because it's curious that a lot of these people in Hollywood are having, they're finding that their kids are transgender. It wasn't just not just Megan Fox. Now I know that Charlize Theron, her child is apparently trans.
Dwayne Wade's son.
Dwayne Wade's son as well, or daughter, or what have you. Now, it just seems very interesting that all of them are just producing transgender kids. Maybe that's why, and I've seen this already in other places. Maybe that's why millennials and Zoomers have their gay population just go up to 20%, if not more. Gen Xers like me and the Boomers and the previous generations, they've all stayed pretty consistent.
Don't notice trends. It's all organic. Don't notice any trends, and don't make any conclusions based on.
No. I mean, it's interesting that my generation has stayed pretty consistent, about 7%.
Your generation raised the current millennials and Zoomers. Okay, so this all adds up.
Not necessarily because I have no kids, or as they used to say when I worked in the prison,
your generation.
No kids that I'm aware of. I mean, no woman has ever claimed to have slept with me. So there's that, and no person has ever claimed to be my child. I'd be surprised. But the point being, it just seems strange that now we're just having a massive increase in the number of gay people. It's just curious how the kids are just
it's literally trendy. It's trendy.
By the way, AJC, the answer is yes. Yes, she did.
And it's interesting. I think I saw another report that said that within 5 years, those who claim to be transgender
He
or
did.
gay, well, no, that they come to a realization that they're not, and they go back to being heterosexual. I'm not going to say
Well, I
it's a
mean, that's if they
phase.
haven't, permanently mutilated them by the time we get to
You see,
5 years.
that is why you should not go into surgery that quickly.
And you know
And
what's the
I know,
sad thing of it all? Like, particularly in America, they're literally gonna claim, "Yeah, I'm deformed and I need, early Social Security, blah blah blah." Like, it's all gonna end up on the fucking taxpayer, and it's like people like us have been saying,
I
"Yeah,
mean, it
don't do
already
this,
is.
dummy."
Like, people who turn trans and mutilate their bodies, they're going to have to be on medication for the rest of their life. So where do you think that money is coming from?
Cassie, I admire your optimism that you think Social Security will still exist by the time you retire. It's not going to exist
Oh no,
by the time
they're
I
gonna want it
retire.
at the age of 25. Is the point?
Well, if you think student loan forgiveness is bad, like that pisses me off to no end because it's like, so all the taxpayers have to pay for your your bad decision.
Terrible
Like,
financial situation that your parents convinced you was a
forget-
good idea.
Yeah, just forget that. Now we're just talking about like, oh yeah, your genital mutilation, that's going to be covered by the U.S. taxpayer. Wonderful.
I don't. Well, I mean, it already is because the prisoners in federal prison can get those surgeries done. But the point being, I would just I don't think Megan Fox is in much of a position, especially when she releases pictures like those and says, "Oh, you know what? I'm literally gonna put a spell on you, and how dare you meddle in my kid's life?" I think those pictures posted out there for the world would be more embarrassing for her kids than anything that this Starbucks
But you know
person
what?
says.
You know what really is like the thing that maybe that tells me that it's not the kids being dressed that way that says she should probably be investigated. It's the bullshit she literally said afterwards that says to me, maybe you should investigate to see if there's some child abuse here.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Neo was asking us who's worse, Charlize Theron or Megan Fox. Here's the true question. I think they're both terrible, evil people. So here's the real question: is it worse to corrupt and destroy your own children, your own flesh and blood, or corrupt and destroy your adopted children? Like, which one is worse out of those two? Because that's basically the answer to your question.
No, but it is a wild coincidence that both of them have transgender kids. I'm trying to imagine, any star from what was called the Golden Age having this issue. I mean, to be fair, Joan Crawford was out there whacking her kids mercilessly, with wire hangers and Ajax. So, but you don't hear James Stewart's stepkids having this issue. Even Cary Grant had one daughter, and she seems to be relatively fine. And it's curious, Jennifer Grey, her father admitted that he came out much later in life, and she turned out pretty well. So I don't understand why all of a sudden all these people are having transgender kids. It just seems very strange that they're all coming out metaphorically and literally at this moment.
Well, Rick, I just wanted to, to quote The Sopranos. Say what you want about Richie Aprile. When he found out his son was gay, he did the right thing and disowned him. So there you go.
Well, that's not the gay mobster that got whacked, was it?
No, that was Vito in season 5. So this was much earlier. This was if you know David Proval from Mean Streets. He played Richie Aprile, but yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch that show. I think I've seen clips. I've never seen like the whole.
It's worth it. It still holds up.
Yeah.
And I speculated. I told Gabe that I think Meadow did not necessarily die at the end, because we all believe that all of them got whacked, but she came in. Maybe Tony did not literally see her. So she's probably the Anastasia of the Mafia Romanovs.
No, only Tony got hit, because that's how it works. No families.
I got thoughts on this topic.
Go ahead, man.
Because I've been watching from the ride home. Jennifer needs, one.
I mean,
needs
Megan?
to be arrested. Or, that thing.
Not Jennifer Aniston. Not Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, sorry. I
He's
got
thinking
lost
Jennifer's
on
body.
Jennifer Grey for a minute. But, Megan Fox. threatened murder against this, what's his name, Starbuck?
Robbie Starbuck, I guess.
Yeah, because that corpse eating ritual happens to be a death curse. So, yes, she's a psycho, but she also did threaten the man's life. 2, Charlize Theron, who also has transgender kids, threatened to kill anybody who is saying that if you go against transgender kids, I'm going to fuck you up. That alone, honestly, people or the police should be looking into. But as to the coincidence that Rick says as to why all these kids are turning up transgender, you may want to watch some Mark Dice videos. Because believe it or not, as crazy as the dude sounds, believe it or not, he does bring receipts when it comes to the chemical compounds found in a lot of freaking water and other shit, and their effects that they have on the brain.
Is that a case of a broken clock being right twice a day?
Pretty much. I mean,
is
he's
this particularly
insane
with
most of the
tap water?
time,
Or is
he's
it with
insane
like
most
bottled
of the
water?
time. It's pretty much bottled juices or box juices and other things, because there is a chemical compound that does alter brain chemistry in that. It's actually been found in these things. I've even fucking looked into it, and it's like, holy shit, he's actually right in this.
I will say Mark Dice is hilarious. I don't watch him regularly, but he'll show up on ROTC, Revenge of the Sith, the show I watch every day. And he can be pretty funny. So yeah, I do like Mark Dice from time to time.
I mean, he is, or as insane as the dude is, because I don't believe in everything he says, I did look that shit up. And when if people are drinking that shit, it can actually lead to male brains being altered to think or to be more feminine, which would cause a male to have or to think that they are trans later on. So yeah, there is that possibility, because this shit's been going on for fucking years. Because of that compound, they haven't found a suitable replacement, because it keeps the nutrients alive longer in the drink. So apparently it's a nutrient preservative. But yeah, that's one thing. But as for Megan Fox, the woman is batshit crazy. And honestly,
I like how you went for like the water angle rather than like the more obvious. She's into witchcraft, and she admitted to being the witch angle. That probably has a lot more to do with what she said.
Well,
but I'll let you finish your point.
No, that's to the whole kid angle. To the whole kid angle. As for her and her whole witchcraft thing, and as well as the other actresses and actors that are getting into it and whatnot, maybe we do need a freaking new age Salem witch trial, because honestly, that shit is starting to freaking get ridiculously overdone.
Well, I mean, there is a Bible verse about not allowing witches to live. I think we're starting to see why that was the case.
I mean, maybe we do need to dust off the Malaya Maleficara.
Well, it's curious about the Salem witchcraft trials, because remember, all of those were predicated on believe the children. We have to believe the children when they say they saw specters, and they were forced to go out into the woods and signed allegiances to the devil. You couldn't question the children, because the children wouldn't lie. We never learned from history. Sad to say, the Salem witch trials. All these people who were killed because of the testimony of children, and it just grew and grew and grew until it really grew out of control.
I think it was Mike Miller who not too long ago said that the number of people who actually died in the Salem witch trials was like something like 20 or something like that. Like, it was never nearly as much as it was overblown to be. So I mean, I don't know why.
Even then, there were
in
people.
Salem, it was 20. In Salem, it was 20. However, the official or Catholic records that they have done a very good job at burying numbers in the tens to possibly even hundreds of thousands.
Yes, but again, I mean,
because they went after free-thinking women mostly.
Regardless of how many women and men were actually killed They were killed on false charges.
Right.
That is wrong.
Yes.
And then I brought this up another podcast. You had the McMartin trial again. Believe the children.
Right.
Yes, believe the children who would tell you that they levitated, that they were smuggled into Mexico for orgies and brought back the same day. You couldn't question them. And what happened? Lives were ruined, lives were destroyed, businesses were destroyed,
Oh, no
and then
doubt that.
it spread. It went beyond the McMartin. It became a craze. It became a mania of child daycare centers being accused. And now we're back to this. All these kids are suddenly transgender. We're supposed to again believe the children. Look, I think we should not always believe the children. We need to always have
No,
doubt.
the children isn't the problem. It's not the children that I don't
It's the
trust. It's the
parents that are
parents that I don't
brainwashing them.
trust.
Well, that
Yeah,
is true as
exactly.
well. That is true because it was it's curious in the McMartin case, it was one parent and she was found to be mentally disturbed. I mean, she pretty much was when they first brought up the charges.
Yeah.
So it's always this bizarre case where the parents are almost projecting these horrors upon their kids, and the kids start accepting them as true. And we might be having the same situation here. I never trust when a child, a 12-year-old, says, "I'm non-binary." I don't trust that because I was a child once, long before any of you were born, and I don't even remember that concept ever existing when I when I was 12. It has to be something in the culture, less in the water or the juices, and more in the culture itself. The children are always going to be influenced by what they see, what they hear, what is all around them. And if they see this, starting from like Nickelodeon that has pride banners and otters that have their breast removed, animated cartoons, if they see that from the beginning, of course, eventually it's going to seep into their minds. It's just the way with anything. Any culture just goes on,
Cassie.
goes on.
Well, look,
Goes on that
the
way.
hysteria, when people get together and decide to get hysterical, there's little else that terrifies me more. Okay, so that's why I go so heavy on being an individual and trying to think for myself and trying to see things clearly and not get whipped up into a frenzy, because that shit, that historically, or even the movie. What is the movie? Rick, I'm just trying to think right now. The Western.
The Oxbow incident.
The Oxbow incident is one of my favorite movies, but it's like that's what scares me is when individuals, mobs get together and decide, oh hey, you're evil, so we're going to murder you because we're righteous, and it's like, okay, can I
You
not
know
be
what
murdered?
That's called, right?
Look,
You know what that's called, right?
Yeah.
what?
It's called democracy.
Yeah,
Majority rule.
so great that is. But look, I think we've all come to like realize, especially like maybe me and Rob, it's like we all have a passion like for movies because I mean we watched a lot of TV and movies growing up as a kid. But look, at the same time, we can't just deny like what Hollywood is. Like Hollywood is a very sick and evil place at this point in time. You really just can't like deny it anymore. Like sure, the movies made to come out be good every now and then, but even though like they're getting kind of bad too. But I want to play a couple of videos here talking about just how wicked Hollywood is. I do have another story here, but I'm actually going to save that one for later here. This is a story from about a week ago. Tyrese, who was promoting the Fast X movie, did an interview. I think it was on one of the LA radio stations, and he said this. I want to play something that he said. Then I have another one from Rick's favorite person in the world, Mel Gibson. So I want to play these back to back, trying to give you the idea of what was being translated here. So this is first Tyrese in his statement.
As much as I'm supposed to be promoting this movie and talking about my album, I just feel like we're in competition right now because they are trying to normalize the devil. They are trying to populate. The devil is on the main stage at award shows and in every video and signs and symbols. And I said, you know what? We need to stop treating our relationship with Jesus like the little buddy that you talk to before you go to bed at night and not be more vocal about all the things that God means to us and all of the things that God has brought us through. Because there's been a lot of moments that you didn't post about. But yet how did God decide to get me through this?
Yeah, man.
And Yeah, they going above and beyond to promote the devil, and it's pissing me off because they used to devil worshippers used to be real secretive, going down in the basement, this secret world. Now they just
they on the device too.
Yeah,
Believe that. Yeah. I do want to come back and I want to talk to you about Fast 10 as well.
So that was the first video here. Notice how quickly he tried to move away from that topic. But then here's the second video that I have here. Like I said, this is a bit of a longer video, but I think really goes to drive home what we're talking about here. This is our good old buddy Mel Gibson talking about some things that he noticed in Hollywood during this time. So here's a quick little clip here.
I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And and I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because a whole place can't be like, you know, Weird Town, you know, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them and they tell you don't go into the house on the hill, and it's like that. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like. Could it? And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff. Not specifically on track, but that you could, that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time. And you think, it does rip your life to pieces.
Does it?
If you'll let it.
Yeah.
And it's always pounding at the walls. It's like these little guys, these little heathens with no soul downstairs, with horns on their head, with a battering ram trying to like beat your walls in.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take very long before you realize, or before it gets to you. It's cascading on you all the time. You can't get away from certain attitudes, from certain modes of behavior that this town and the industry dictate. And no matter how strong you are, when you come in off the farm with those convictions and a certain line of attack, no matter how strong you are going to be affected by this place. No, it's going to divert you from where you were going.
Sure.
You're going to be diverted. You'll eat yourself alive here. And I think it takes that kind of cockroach resilience to survive in this town. I mean, this is a bizarre place. The social contract. You can't get mad. You can't get mad. You can't let it get you, because you have to make a deal with everyone else, and it's almost unspoken that you are going to be fucked over at some point.
I mean, as a matter of interest, do you think it's easier because you're an outsider who came in?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because it was glaring to me, because I was an outsider who came in.
So those are just a couple of videos there from Mel and Tyrese noticing some patterns about the town that they've worked in for many decades here. So I'll just shoot this one over to you guys, and I'll start with the cackling Rick Aragon over here. What do you think about what they had to say there about Hollywood? Are we starting to reveal more stuff about what Hollywood has always been?
I will first say that it's a little difficult listening to Mel Gibson with the words, "The paranoia begins August 8th," right above his head.
Conspiracy theory, yeah. He was probably promoting conspiracy theory while giving this interview. Yeah,
it just sounds bizarre to just see. So I was trying to listen and not get distracted by that, because it's such a weird connection there. Well, I'll say with Tyrese, it sounds like he's sincere and he's making a genuine effort to be someone more of faith, and he is disturbed by the idea that something that is antithetical to his faith, which is the devil and devil worshipping, that people are making it not that they're making light of the devil, but that people are just embracing too much of it, and the ensuing darkness and negativity and oppressive forces that come with embracing the occult and the darkness that the devil and Satan represent. When it comes to Mel Gibson, yes, it does change you. Anytime that you gain power and fame in this almost Faustian bargain that a lot of performers have to sign, yes, it to change you. I don't know if it changes you to the point where you blame Jews for everything and want them thrown into the ovens like he does. But I would say that yes, I think it's less about Hollywood in general. Although we did have Hollywood Babylon, and that was I guess what you called it.
Well, you keep calling it how Hollywood Babylon. They just keep calling it Babylon because the reference of Babylon in the Bible. I'm just gonna keep throwing that out there.
No, I call it Hollywood Babylon because I'm basing it on that book and TV show that was called Hollywood Babylon. The one that alleged Marlena Dietrich had an affair with Hattie McDaniel because she was a chubby chaser. And
Alleged.
alleged affair with Mammy. But I'll just say that uh, I don't know. I think it's less about Hollywood in itself and more about the corrupting force of power. I mean, this is why Harvey Weinstein got away with it for so long, because he was a powerful man, and he allowed all these people to gain power and fame and fortune and everything that goes with it. He thanks them all. This is what happens. Power corrupts, and it's not just political power. It's economic power, and it's social power, like the ones that you can do when you can influence all these generations to metaphorically, if not literally, worship you, the individual, all of these stars. So yeah, it's a corrupting force. Power is always corrupting. But yeah, I hope the paranoia has ended for Mad Mel as he screams his way across two continents.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
Rick,
he's
Rob, what do you think?
yeah. I mean, I saw that Mel Gibson interview before, and I think that's some of the context of him promoting a movie that deals with conspiracy theories doesn't hurt. But th- that look that this has only occurred to me in the last couple of years that Hollywood is this sort of gang town. It's what it seems like. It seems like a cartel. It seems like a hierarchy of incredibly established, incredibly powerful people who are set in their places. And if you won't do what they want, they'll just get somebody else. Because that's what Hollywood is. They make shit up. It's a town that's made out of sand that convinces people it's gold. And so that all of that rings true. All of that makes sense. Like Rick said, power corrupts. It's a power center, like Washington D.C. or Silicon Valley. It's a place where you're not dealing with the everyday sort of business world, even. So it is its own kind of creation. I think it's cool that Tyrese is speaking up about what he sees. But even as someone who's a non-believer, such as myself, it's like I can see it through the lens of just blatant self-worship and theatricality and sort of an emptiness just on that level. Like I don't have to be religious to see it as inherently evil, as just as something that shouldn't be promoted on a mass scale. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't really do people any good to sort of be like, oh yeah, just like love yourself, don't care about anyone else, don't care about your family, abandon all of the things that are sort of natural and inherently good in the world, and just kind of selfishly promote yourself. That can be viewed just inherently negative on its face. But yeah, I just, at the end of the day, as a non-religious person, I don't really know how to view it other than corrupting forces wanting to corrupt other people.
The way I see it. Well, yeah.
Go
let
for
her
it.
I
go.
was going to let Cassie, but you go ahead, Orange.
Well, I think Alexander Anderson had a point. We need a crusade.
We need a better crusade.
We need a more definitive crusade. So this is a crusade
Oh no.
I mean, lots of people
Shotgun.
died in the last one, so maybe maybe we could figure out a different way.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't really believe in any form of like cultish mentality. I mean, I maybe, you know, my channel name is Cult Classic Cage, but the only cult I try to create is one full of people that think for themselves. You know, that's really
Cult
what
of
I like
individualism?
to encourage.
Thank you,
people
Ayn
to
Rand.
think for them fucking selves. Stop following these fucking weirdos just because they may seem cool to you. Stop looking up to these juvenile piles of shit in Hollywood. Just stop believing in these people. They're no better than you know, they're flesh and blood just like you, just like me. And definitely when they speak on this bullshit, make fun of them, mock them, shame them. I fully, wholeheartedly believe in that. Now, you know, in regards to, well, what side should we take? Like the Bible thumping side or like this devil worshipping side? Look, I don't really feel, I don't feel like comfortable taking any specific side because I know what comes with each. Like we've seen them both, like, you know, have these moments on both sides. I'm highly concerned with this satanic, you know, sort of uprising that is being normalized for sure, but I don't feel like we fight it with, you know, something that we've seen in the past that leads to a bunch of people misusing whatever power they do gain. At the end of the day, it's just a bunch of people that have power and fame that go to use it in ways that impede on other people's lives. That's something I wholeheartedly stand against. So on this regard, like I do, you know, totally see where both Mel Gibson and Tyrese are coming from, and in a sense I do, you know, I agree with Tyrese, but using, you know, specifically the Bible to fight it, I mean, it's just one of those things where if we can't just have common sense conversations that don't necessarily exclude people, like I don't have to, you know, use any form of literature to tell you that what you're saying is fucking retarded. Like, you are a retard for this, and you deserve to be called what you are. Like, that's what really needs to, like, and I think that the mass majority of people can come together and say, yeah, you are fucking retarded. And if you do not stop this bullshit and go back to your mother's fucking basement, if you want to worship whatever bullshit you want in your black robes, thinking that you're fucking a witch or a warlock or some motherfucker from World of Warcraft, if you think that it is okay to be about this shit anywhere else other than your mother's fucking basement, well, you're going to be made fun of for it. That's really just what it boils down to for me. I don't believe that we should develop these cults. I mean, we just need to bring back common sense. We need to find common ground and agree on let's start with just language. Can we have some form of agreement on fucking language? Because I feel like on a daily basis, I'm fighting just over Webster's fucking dictionary with some of these dumb fucking people out here.
Oh yes,
Well,
I mean, I know that.
Run for president when you're 35. You'll get my vote.
Yeah, well, yeah, C.S. Johnson I think would have been great because she is a mistress of using language because she's a professional writer.
Yeah, well, she's in the mountains in Tennessee right now, so nobody cares about her.
Well, but I will say that Cassie made me think about Ayn Rand because she was always accused of being a cult leader. She said, "But I teach individualism. How can you have a cult of individuals?"
Like I said, a cult of individualism, the biggest oxymoron.
Yeah, in her great Russian accent. But no, I disagree with Cassie on one point, like that the Hollywood people that they're just like you and me. It's an I Love Lucy episode where Fred hears Ava Gardner's name, jumps up and looks around. It's like, no, you know, she's just people like you and me. And he says, she might be people, but she's not like you and me. So.
Well, you know, it's funny. I always go back to this. You know, back in the rooms like the 70s and 80s, everyone knows the term phrase, the satanic panic, right? And the way that it was labeled, it was like, oh, these Christians are saying that everything is tied to the devil. It's just like, look at all the music and all the television and all these other things. They think the devil's in everything. And that was kind of, hey, the branding worked, right? Because now we just label it satanic panic rather than saying that, hey, maybe people were noticing things 40 years ago ago that maybe we should have paid more attention to that we're dealing with now. And we just did 3 stories in a row where people are really starting to notice patterns now. Like I said, the people behind the scenes, especially in towns like Hollywood and towns similar to Hollywood, they're not being subtle anymore. They're being very vague and in your face with exactly what they believe, exactly what they're into. So when I look at what's going on, I think to myself, are we just going to continue to ignore the elephant in the room like we have been doing for the last 3 or 4 decades, or are we actually going to start addressing what is going on here? Because I tell you, when it comes to stuff you're seeing in Hollywood, it's not just Hollywood. It's in a lot of places that have a lot of power. Like we were saying earlier, power tends to reveal people's true self. I think somebody said that in the chat here. And it's like, yeah, a lot of people who are in positions of power tend to be in some very evil, wicked stuff. And when it goes to Elliot Page having a psychotic mental breakdown where she's hearing voices in her head that are telling her to be trans, maybe we can only assume that those are just voices in her head, and maybe we can assume that there's something else going on there. When Megan Fox is going out there promoting, like you said, essentially a death curse because she's open to be in a coven of witches, maybe we should start looking a little bit deeper into what she's doing, not only in her personal life, but with her kids. We've talked about stories, like I said, I mentioned the stories we talked about earlier. Evil is portraying its face for the world to see anymore. And it used to be back in the day, it used to be subtle. It used to be something where you could easily deny it or give it like the plausible deniability of, oh, well, they don't actually mean this, or they're not really saying that. It's like, it's getting pretty blatant now. And people, I feel like we're going to get to a point where when people have to make a decision one way or another, you're not going to be able to say, well, I didn't see this coming, or, hey, nobody told me, or, oh, I never would have thought that they were into this. It's like they're starting to be more and more abrasive about what they're doing here. So all I'm telling the people watching this is start paying more attention to some of the stuff that's going around here. Start paying attention to more of these people that are in power, because they're telling you exactly who they are. And I feel like people have trouble taking that step forward of just accepting what it is and then what's the next step forward, right? Because look, if someone's fully accepting a side of evil, then what exactly do you fight evil with?
And I have been saying something like this for the last couple of years, is that when you have a society that is so accepting of everything, you know, it basically is just allowing everything, you start running into shit like this where it's like, okay, we're brushing up against like just clear signs of degradation and celebrating just like soullessness. So maybe you shouldn't accept everything. Maybe you should have principles. Maybe you should know what you believe in. And when you like, because when this shit happens, you have to be able to be like, no, that's creepy. No, that's fucked up. No, kids don't need to fucking see that. So like, because I'm getting to that point, and I'm not a religious person, but it's like you have to have a line somewhere to be like, no, that's creepy. No, that's wrong.
Mm-hmm. I mean, your brain isn't telling you that something's wrong. It's like what Mel was saying earlier with his story. It was like he's looking around. He's probably seeing the same things that we're all seeing, and he's trying to rationalize in his head, like, what's actually going on here? It's like, is this stuff like in my head? Like, I'm thinking that's actually happening here. Am I being paranoid? Am I being crazy? Or do I have to come to the terms that, you know, hey, maybe there's a lot more going on to this town than I initially realized, and I have to make a decision one way or another moving forward here.
And that really is the gamble, because there is a small group of people out there that like to say, if you really want them to learn, give them what they want and let them see the worst that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
The gamble is it gets too much out of control if you do that. Look at how a lot of these people, and a small political thing here, look how a lot of these people wanted to defund the police. Well, they went and defunded the police. What the hell happened? Crime skyrocketed. And now those very same people who were bitching about wanting the police defunded and whatnot are saying, we need help. We can't handle this. It's the same, really, when it comes to all this debauchery that in society right now. We gave them what they wanted, and now it's becoming too much, where some of them are even saying this is too much. However, it's mostly the majority of the people who were against it from the beginning saying, okay, now that this has gotten out of hand, How are we going to stop it? Well, here's the thing. You should have nipped it, or you should never have let it. This
Get
is
to
the part
this
where
point.
the gamble doesn't pay off. Or you should never have let it get to this point because it will get out of hand too quickly.
Mhm.
Honestly, people are not willing to explore or a possible solution to these problems because of how, well, dark it can really get. And it's like, if you're not going to explore all possible solutions, then you might as well just let it fucking happen because you're not willing to take those steps.
Well, Orange Hat brought up something that made me think. Yes, these things can definitely get out of control. You look at what happened in the Chinese Cultural Revolution, and I keep arguing that we are in the middle of our own cultural revolution where everything has to be demolished and renamed and we have to have different celebrations and events to celebrate others. Um, the Cultural Revolution in China got so out of control that Mao eventually had to like stomp it down. And same with the witchcraft trials, where people were making all sorts of allegations, and that got out of control. All these movements eventually outgrow they become too unwieldy. The French Revolution led to the Reign of Terror, and we forget that in that time between the actual French Revolution and the Reign of Terror, there was a time when they decided to create what the cult of reason. They were going to have a special state religion that removed Christianity. They demolished everything that they could get their hands on. They wanted to abolish all history. They renamed the months of the year. We're kind of going through something similar here. Not maybe renaming months of the year, but renaming cities, renaming forts, renaming everything. It's the same thing. Eventually, all revolutions grow out of control. I think the American Revolution might be
Well,
the
look,
exception. But
everyone always uses the term New World Order, but nobody actually knows exactly what that. Like, what is the New World Order? The New World Order is actually tearing down and destroying the order of old and creating an order of new. Now, the question that nobody seems to ask when you hear that noise is like, by whose order are we creating new? Because if it's the order of evil, it may not be the best thing to go forward with this New World Order agenda. I'm sorry, Brave New World, because we don't want to call things New World Order anymore. Marvel.
Zola said it best in the Winter Soldier. People need or create a world so chaotic that people are going to be willing to give up their freedom for security, and then Hydra's New World Order will arise.
Well, I mean,
He said it best, and it's a fucking movie that fucking called it, folks.
Well, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of movies and TV shows you can go back and watch. And it's a little thing that people used to call conspiracy theory, but it's called predictive programming when they put things in television and movies that they know is going to happen somewhere in the future. But of course, if you don't pick up on it, if you just think, oh, it's just art, oh, it's just a television show, you'll go right over your head until you go back and watch it. It's like, wait, what year did this come out? And then what year did this happen? It's like, it's happened more times than people care to pay attention to. That's all I'm saying. But
look at Star Wars Episode 3.
I don't care how popular it gets. I'm not eating any Soylent Green. That's all I'm going to say. Right?
I don't even know what the hell that
Or
is.
bugs. I don't know what Soylent Green even is.
Watch
it's one of those boomer references.
Watch the movie. Charlton Heston,
Charlton
Edward G. Robinson. Watch it. It's
What is the movie?
Soylent Green.
Okay, so it's
what
not
the government
just food,
feeds
but it's
the
also
people,
drink.
which is people. Sorry, there you go.
Yeah.
Soylent Green is people. Basically, they reduce people to cannibalism.
So real quick before we get to our closer tonight, I want to go ahead and congratulate the Golden Knights of Las Vegas just won the Stanley Cup. With a minute left to go, it is 9-3. They're going to win the. Keep in mind, this is hockey. This is hockey. Yeah. They're up 9-3, and they're going to win the Stanley Cup Finals in 5 games over the Florida Panthers. So both Miami teams bite the dust in the championship. So Vegas wins the championship right after Dallas. So go Vegas. I'm going to troll a couple of Canadians. I'm pretty sure one of them is going to block me and call me out as a weirdo, but I'm going to troll him even harder because of that now. So
does this mean that the Rays and the Marlins are not winning the World Series?
Probably not.
Oh, I guess, okay, that means, DeSantis, pull out. You're obviously going to lose. Pull out right now.
Yeah, there's going to be crazy partying in the streets of Vegas tonight. It's already packed inside and outside. So Vegas wins its first championship since the 6 years they've been in the league. So there you go.
My friend Ryan, who lives in Henderson, and my friend Gabe, who's a passionate Golden Knights fan. Oh my gosh! Okay, I better go and wait for them to let me know.
But we have a closer before we hop out of here. We have one more story tonight. Now, this is a story that caught a lot of people's eye, and I got into an argument about this again, and it's this Jenna Ortega story. Now, like I said, people within our sphere, the people that, Orange Hat really likes, they've been covering this story for the last few months. And like I said, the perception that I have gotten is that people have kind of propped up Jenna Ortega as this hero because they're mirroring her situation with the writers at Netflix over at Wednesday at the same light they, judged Henry Cavill's situation with The Witcher, also at Netflix as well. Here's the problem. I think they're building up Jenna Ortega to be someone who she's not. And I think a perfect example of this is this story here. This is a story that came a couple of days ago. I wrote about it over the weekend. And it's basically Jenna Ortega crying about toxic social media users, which I find very, very hilarious because, like I said, not a lot of people know about the story that I brought it to you guys here. But we're going to go back through the whole thing all over again. So Jenna Ortega was doing a interview with Elle Fanning, I think is her name. Elle Fanning.
Yeah.
From and this was part of like a variety sit-down thing. So this is kind of like the same series where Jennifer Lawrence claimed that she was like the first female action hero or some nonsense like that. But Jenna Ortega sat down and talked about how toxic social media can be, and actually went as far as breaking down in tears. Now, here's the transcript of what she says here when she's talking to Elle Fanning about, how her experience with social media. She said, social media, what it does to anyone our age is such a comparative game. It said it influences bandwagon mentality, which is very manipulative. Hold on to these words. They see your vulnerability, they twist it in a way you don't always expect, she says. It's so strange. Sorry, I didn't mean to do this, because she starts crying as she's saying this. It says, it's such a hard thing to balance, because how do you be honest without jeopardizing your own health and safety? It is very easy to feel almost out of control. So she's talking about just kind of the toxic world, environment of social media, and how social media influences these type of activities. Now, on face value, I mean, that's nothing that we can all agree with. I mean, we can all agree that there's very toxic people on social media. There's very toxic, obsessed people on social media. So on face value, there's really nothing there that would raise any red flags. People probably agree with that. But like I said earlier, this is the part of the story that a lot of people don't know or either don't remember, is that this is a woman whose career literally catapulted on toxic social media behavior. If you remember this story, and I'm writing an article about this on Bounding. It should be up sometime later this week. It's not officially posted yet, but I will put up at least some of the screenshots from this. Jenna Ortega was on a Disney Channel show a few years ago, about maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and she was on the show with her co-star at the time was Ronnie Hawk. That's the name of the girl's name. Ronnie Hawk, during the Parkland shooting, the one in Florida, stood up against kind of the counterculture, especially of Disney, saying that, no, we shouldn't be endorsing government regulations, shouldn't be endorsing gun control. This is not the way to do it, right? So people went all the way back through her social media feed and ousted her as a Trump supporter, ousted her as someone who supports conservative values. And as a result of this, the show ended up getting axed, and then her career ended up getting destroyed, partly in part of a couple of posts from her co-star at the time, Jenna Ortega, who completely threw her under the bus by posting these tweets here. I'll bring it up so you guys can actually see them here. Keep in mind, this is oh, by the way, another thing, Ronnie actually did apologize initially for standing up for her values. She did apologize to try to keep her position at Disney. Didn't work. 2 days after she posted this apology, this is what Jenna Ortega posted. She says, when you say that all Mexicans are gardeners, to my face, a Mexican, yet you have the privilege to play one on TV. And yes, I said privilege. Keep in mind, she's literally talking about Ronnie Hawk, her co-star at the time. She followed up with this tweet here saying that when someone says that they hope Trump builds a wall wall and that Mexicans should be deported because they're taking educational funds from white people because they are minorities, then go on to claim that they're Latina, and when it works for them, shake my head, right? So this was used as the basis to destroy the character of Ronnie Hawk. Now, Ronnie Hawk, I believe, did reply to this, saying that, behind the scenes, Jenna Ortega basically threatened her multiple times, and I think she even went as far as to threaten her life, or saying that she should end her life. There's another post about that. Like I said, the full story will be up hopefully tomorrow or sometime this week. You can go read it on your own. It's all there. But to this day, that was the incident that destroyed Ronnie Hawk's career. She hasn't been in anything in film and in TV since that whole thing, because everyone took Jenna Ortega's side. And of course, that led Jenna Ortega to be in franchises like Scream, launched her career there, launched her career on the Netflix show Wednesday, and she has other projects now. So here's a woman complaining about people being toxic on social media and having a negative effect on her personality, her well-being, her mental health, yet she used that very same toxicity to launch her career into superstardom where it is now, where she's the one doing interviews with Variety as one of Hollywood's biggest top stars, complaining about the same thing. It's a completely hypocritical situation, but like I said, because a lot of people don't really know Jenna before the Wednesday show, they don't know the full story and the full context of this, so people were kind of propping her up to be like this hero because she's standing up to the writers at Netflix. Oh yeah, by the way, she got bumped to a producer for season 2. So people claiming that she was going to be this victim of cancel culture, she just got a producer credit for the second season, which means she's going to have more say over the show and she's going to get paid more. So you're framing her up to be this victim. She's really not in reality. I'll start off with you, Orange Hat, because I know you saw the interview beforehand too. I want to kind of get your thoughts on first what she said, and then kind of the context of knowing the story before her comments here.
I didn't watch the full thing. I only caught clips of it. The part that I said I have a little bit, because we were discussing this before stream, and I said I have a little bit more respect for them now. Is in the fact that they were actually decrying the stereotypical strong woman thing that Hollywood is pulling. Because they also want to mention that they want to be able to identify with a woman, but the way that they're portraying women in movies nowadays doesn't really allow that to happen. As for her stuff that you've covered here and whatnot, I do remember that. So hence why I said a little bit of respect. Does not necessarily mean I respect them as or full-fledged, because what she did to that Ronnie girl or person is indeed completely fucked up. And yes, she is quite literally a hypocrite when she's decrying all this toxic social media culture, yet that's how she built her career. As for the rest of it, honestly, I don't really pay much attention to her. The only reason why I've really noticed her is because I've seen a few other movies that she's ended up being in, and I've had her ended up watching older movies that she's ended up being in. One of them happening to be Iron Man 3, so I had no idea she was in the MCU as the vice president's either daughter or granddaughter. But it's like, you really shouldn't be, it's pretty rich for you to fucking say this shit after you destroyed another person's life and livelihood. Because whoever this Ronnie girl is, or it is a girl, yes? Yeah, okay, so I would actually like to look at her background a little bit more to see, just to see where she is on an individual level, And if I feel that she actually does deserve to be a little bit more, given a little bit more opportunity in Hollywood, I would actually have no problem endorsing it, But yeah, Jenna Ortega, sometimes she says some things that are interesting and respectable to a degree, but I do not forget that this woman does indeed have a very dark side to her, one that would make even sociopaths like Wednesday blush or even blanch. Those are my thoughts.
You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. A couple things I want to add to that real quick as well is that, so remember this whole thing started with, she apparently went after some of the writers on the show, publicly calling them out, saying that a lot of their direction with the character didn't make any sense, saying that she had to essentially improvise her own lines because she didn't like what the writers were giving her, which is why the writers were upset with her in the first place, because she did that publicly, right? So keep in mind, this is a woman who has shown a character and a pattern that she will throw you under the bus publicly. It has no qualms of doing that. So I know someone was mentioning earlier that, well, I mean, she was only like 16, 17 when these things happened just a few years ago. It's like, well, you're also seeing the pattern that that's basically her character here, and this is the type of person that she is. And then someone asked this question too, kind of leading up to the other part of the conversation, which was about her talking about the badass, strong female characters. Here's the problem with this, is that they call this out, but they don't call the ideology that led into Hollywood creating these characters in the first place. Because the reason why women are now being portrayed as men is because you guys have been supporting this Me Too feminism stuff for the last few years. The problem is that now Hollywood is only creating these type of roles, and you're not getting the type of diverse characters that you were getting a few years ago. Well, guess what? You're the one who supported this in the first place, especially in that town. So now the town is doing what you said you wanted them to do, and now it's like, oh no, now I'm not getting the roles that I want anymore. It's like the guy from what's the guy's name? Stewart. Yeah, because y'all talking about that. Oh, I want to play a bad guy, but Hollywood won't make a brown person a bad guy anymore. It's like, well, yeah, you're part of the problem, though, who endorsed that and wanted more, I guess, less white people to have certain roles now. So it's like, okay, well, we're just gonna make all the white people the bad guy. Well, I still want to play a bad guy. It was like, pick your lane. Like, what side do you want here?
If you read the interview and them talking about it more in context about the strong female character, you have Elle Fanning basically like, I would have played evil characters, and it's like there's lots of like technically evil female characters that have come out the last 5 years that aren't interesting, have no personality, and are kind of there to sort of defend their own bad or evil decision making because it's a black woman, or it was someone that was wronged, or they're
trying to humanize.
Well,
they're trying to humanize them too much.
Yeah,
right.
You
And
have
here's
that.
the problem.
You had that with I'm sorry. You had that with Malevolent, and you had that with Cruella, where they were villains, but they became
Here's
good.
the problem with Jenny Ortega. I think she's going to be very successful because she's very skilled and adept at knowing when to throw people under the bus. Hey, can I take advantage from somebody else's downfall? Hey, let me throw the dice. So look, I have not seen enough from her to determine how talented she is, but she at least has a keen eye for when to, I said in the chat, it sounds like Showgirls, knowing when to push the other girl down the stairs. Jenna
Ortega is definitely shoving people downstairs.
Yeah, and I'm kind of making light of a terrible thing.
No, but what we said earlier, she's perfect for that town. She's an absolutely manipulative bitch, and that's exactly what you need to be to survive in that town, right?
But
I mean, if they ever remake Showgirls, she'd be the perfect cast for the main character.
Right, but her first comment. Now, you said that you wouldn't have any problem with what she said there initially. My antenna is up for the last 10 years of like people that place themselves in a victim role. I am almost, my antenna goes up like, how are you full of shit? I know you're full of shit, but how and how much? I'm just curious because people that tend to talk about themselves in that way, it's almost like they're trying to hide something or be above something, because a victim is somebody who never has to take responsibility. Okay, there's somebody that they're just free of it because I've affected in such a way that I cannot be responsible as the average human being is expected to be. So that's all that is in my opinion.
Yeah, all these like so-called self-victims, like they really the shame is that a lot of these people in Hollywood that bitch and whine about woe is me, this and that. They definitely take the attention away from people who are truly victimized and they are legitimate victims. And I personally do not care about Jenny Ortega and whatever issue she has with social media. If you have a problem with social media, get off of social media. I really have no interest in feeling sorry for you, shedding a tear, get the fuck over it. Like you act like such a bitch at least be, true to it and be a whole bitch all the time. Like some people in Hollywood have been in the past that are infamous for doing so. You don't see Diana Ross parading herself as a victim. No, she just does what the fuck she wants to do. Okay, she
Well, that's
she
because
slept
she's
with
too
who
cool to
she.
cancel.
That too, but she slept with whoever she needed to sleep to get where she needed to be, and guess what? She owned that shit, right?
I mean,
Yes,
honestly,
Ross.
when I see a female, when I do, and I risk a lot here, folks, saying this, when I see these fucking female celebrities, or even male celebrities for that matter, and they start doing the whole "woe is me" crying on screen thing, I really do just want to walk up to them and slap them across the face and say, "Wake up, bitch! This is the fucking real world. We don't do that shit here."
Yeah.
They need that reality check, folks. I'm sorry. As brutal and violent as that sounds, it's
I'm very
necessary
anti-violent.
at this point.
I'm very anti-violence. I will just resort to telling you to go fuck yourself. It's really that simple. And Jenny
Words
Ortega
aren't getting.
can go
I
fuck
mean,
herself.
words
Well-
get or go a certain distance, but actions do speak louder than words.
Again,
And also get you thrown in prison.
I will.
Well,
I
I'll
will,
fucking
I
rock
will
that
go
orange
with,
jumpsuit.
I will.
Yeah.
I will go with Rob. I have not seen enough of Jenny Ortega. I don't. I've never even seen Wednesday, but it appears to be her doing a variation of Christina Ricci's version of Wednesday from the Addams Family, just based on the few clips that I've seen. I think Jenny Ortega really doesn't have much to complain about because, like I said, she benefited from being mean on social media, and now she's saying that it can't be used against her. Is that the gist of the argument, that she can't, that she can use it, but it cannot be used against her? And just one last thing with Jenny Ortega, she can't complain about the Mexicans because we're now part of the white supremacist movement. So she is now with this other co-star. They're both on the same team, oppressing minorities. So what is she complaining about? Come on, get with the program, Jenny. You're now part of the white
master
supremacists.
race.
You are
Plus the
part of the master race. You are
fucking
now a
mess.
white supremacist.
Plus the border's an absolute fucking mess now compared to what 2018. I mean, it was a mess then, but it's even more of a disaster now since Biden.
Just because I almost ran someone down on the border highway as I was driving home, and just because you had a lot of Venezuelans coming into my the library branch that I work at to use the computers and print out their passes to leave, and just because they were camped out in the church and clogged up the streets in El Paso, does not mean that there's an issue here. Okay, with immigration. How to make that suggestion, Roberto?
You're being played off the stage by the orchestra.
They seriously had a freaking immigrant saying that freaking America is trash, and he just got over here, by the way. That's literally on fucking video right now, where this dude is like, fucking America's shit, and this, and it's like, well, motherfucker, do you want me to beat your ass until you get back across the border? Keep it up.
I follow quite a few Irish individuals on Twitter, and they point out that like you have refugees who complain about the meals that they get. It's like, excuse me, are you really complaining about the meal you're receiving, you fucking asshole? If you like it so much, why don't you go back to the country you literally like ran away from?
Escaped.
Holy shit.
Look, we all can't live off potatoes. That's all I'm going to say. And just real quick, we didn't get a chance to talk about it. Tom Holland is wasting his opportunities in these awful films. You're
He's
still
terrible.
muted, Jacob.
Tom Holland.
Yeah, so the reason why we didn't talk about the Tom Holland story was because I guess he clarified like a couple hours ago that he's ending his 1 year vacation now, so he wasn't starting a second 1 year vacation, which is why we were going to roast him based on that. But he clarified, no, I'm ending the 1 year vacation I'm already on. So
I have no objection if he kept that
Didn't
vacation.
Morpheus do the same thing, like go into the fucking desert and become Jesus or some shit?
Yeah.
David Leto or whatever his name is.
Jared Leto.
Yeah, that one.
No, he just apparently was on an island in which a few hundred women paid a lot of money to be in his presence and praise him as though he was Jesus.
Yeah, and then he comes
Island?
back looking like Jesus, and then he's like, "Yeah, I come back to the world, and there's a fucking pandemic." It's like,
Yeah, you should Google Jared Leto and 15-year-olds. You'll find some very interesting information
God.
there.
I
But,
don't need to know. I already know that shit, and I don't want to ever know it again.
Well, Jared Leto is like from when I was growing up in the late '90s. He was this sort of pretty boy everyman. Like he was an actor. He was a lead man in 30 Seconds to Mars. He was like just this sort of like pretty boy everywhere in entertainment thing. And just the fact that like that hasn't changed in 30 years. He's you know what I mean. He's still just kind of like existing off the fumes of his like model career.
Well, if Tom Holland doesn't want to make another Spider-Man movie, I'll be so happy. Please stop.
Tom Holland wants to be a gay Spider-Man.
Has Tom Holland made one good movie? Is there one good movie Tom Holland was in?
Which one was that?
No, I'm saying, is there one? Is there a
Yes,
I
actually,
actually
because
like
I
Impossible.
did like In the Heart of the Sea.
I liked The Impossible, but ever
Okay.
since he decided to be Tony Stark Jr. and just go on about those really old movies, I hated him.
Let
he
me be
should've
very clear
freaking-
about Tommy Holland over here. The last Spider-Man movie that he did, what was it? No Way Home.
No Way
That was
Home.
the first film where I actually felt like he was Spider-Man and not Spider-Boy. So there's that.
Yeah.
And then he's been in some absolute dog water movies that I've seen him in. Like Chaos Walking was one of my worst movies of the year. Him
Oh,
and-
yeah, that was
and
hilarious.
Brickface, Daisy Ridley. Yeah, I no, don't ever recommend that film ever to me. Then he was in that Uncharted movie, which was terrible. Like he is not a leading man whatsoever. The only other film outside, like non-MCU related, that I could think that he was okay in was The Lost City of Z, and that was like several years ago.
Oh,
so I
I
can't.
didn't even like
I
that.
really
didn't
like that
Watch
movie.
the
I didn't
movie
like
In the
that.
Heart of the Sea, the
Yeah.
one that is basically the inspiration for Moby Dick. He's actually pretty good in that movie.
I think I fell asleep at that one.
The Lost City
Well,
of
that's
Z
because
actually
you don't
made it in my
understand
top
good art.
movies year it came out, so.
Well, of course I
Top
don't
10
understand
best
good-
or worse?
Of
No,
course
top
I
10
don't
best.
understand.
I liked
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I know I don't understand good art, good art because I still can't believe that Across the Spider-Verse is one of the greatest films ever made,
No.
which I've been told.
Anybody who claims that needs it or their parents needed to abort them.
Oh gosh, that's a little harsh, but you know that's true.
I think
Well-
maybe bringing back the lobotomy should be put into consideration.
Oh no.
There's probably a number of people in Hollywood who need that. But I'm just going to end this one on a special little note to our favorite actress in the world, Jenny Ortega. Maybe on behalf of Ronnie Hawk. I'll just
Assuming that
there you
wasn't done recently.
No one's seen or heard from him recently. So yeah, that story is still in the weeds right now. So hopefully Jamie Foxx is not dead. That's all I can say about that story.
Jamie Foxx is
Sending my
dead.
best wishes. Sending my best wishes to Jamie Foxx right now.
Look,
Until I hear otherwise, Jamie Foxx is dead.
I love Any Given
Dead.
Sunday, so I hope he's okay. And Django Unchained. too.
I'm hoping he's okay, but as far as I know, he's dead.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
as,
that's exactly
or
right.
just like all those fuckers out there that keep on saying, "Oh, Kathleen Kennedy's gonna be fired." Fuck you until I hear a goddamn thing from Disney saying she's been fired.
Yep.
So yeah, until I hear fucking official shit that says that Jamie Foxx is alive, he's dead.
Yeah.
Maybe if we have Rip Jamie Foxx trending for like multiple days, maybe he'll come out of his coma and say, "Yeah, I'm
Yes.
alive."
Fucking
Yeah,
do it.
so they tried to frame it's like, oh, Jamie Foxx finally returns to social media after months of healthcare speculation, and it's literally just a poster of a movie he's coming in. So it's still no picture of what Jamie actually looks like, but his reps are desperately telling everyone, hey, he's not blind and he's not paralyzed, so don't worry.
Well, maybe
Yeah,
he'll
except
just
that
come
he's
back.
the Black John Fetterman.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe he'll come back like that. What is it? That Venezuelan or Colombian woman that woke up in her wake, so during her own wake and was knocking on her coffin to get out.
He's like, how does that? There has to be like, look, you don't just die and then several days later you're in a casket and wake up. It's like somebody had to like screw up several steps in order for something like that to happen. It's like
only
she
Jesus
wasn't
gets that arc,
embalmed.
so.
Like
Yeah,
there was
you
no
see, I could've
autopsy, there was
gone-
no embalming. Like,
Okay, I'm hearing that name.
mhm.
Sorry. the fucking name in the chat that JEC dropped. I could have gone a whole fucking day without hearing that fucking name or seeing that fucking name.
Doomcock, yeah.
Fuck Doomcock.
Oh, by the way, JEC put up a joke in the chat earlier that I'm the only person that actually got that one, but I did get it. It was funny with that Yamaha, but we'll talk about that on another day. So we're here. That's the end of the show, guys. That was the closer. We had an abridged version of our show tonight, boys only, and then Cassie came and ruined everything, but it was boys night here at the Barroom Podcast. So I'm gonna give you guys a chance to promote what you guys got coming up, and then we'll tell you what we got coming up here on the channel. So we'll start with you, Orange. What you got?
Well, I have just did my 47 Ronin mystery review earlier today. Next week, the hint for next week is a Muslim in the far north. So don't spoil it if you already know it. I also do Infinity Saga Sundays, where me and the Hat Crew discuss the Infinity Saga. We're up to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. I also do movie reviews and other content covering controversies and shit like that. I'm trying to get more stuff done, but right now I'm helping my mom recover from her eye surgery, and so content is sparse. I'm trying to get my watch hours up. If y'all want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it right now. Watch my playlist, help get my watch time up. It's the best way to do it, and I appreciate all of it. Other than that, that's pretty much all I got going, except for Mara Jade tomorrow night. We begin the June 1s and 2s on her channel, Jade Shadow. We're going to be discussing Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey next week on Wednesday at 8 p.m.
All right, hopping over to Rick. What you got?
Well, same old. Just writing my reviews, doing a weekly haiku, and just starting to get more into general writing. And of course, my beloved GoFundMe. Please consider donating, and thank you to those who have donated. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to. Well, looking forward's the wrong word. I'm going to watch more movies in the theaters, and I have some lined up for review that are older. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just reviews, haikus, GoFundMe, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all, and God bless.
Rob.
Yep. So yeah, I'll be pretty busy the next week or so, moving myself across the country. But yeah, but when I have time, I'll be watching movies. I'll be tweeting about them. I'm gonna try to go see The Flash this weekend, even though I'm probably not gonna be on for the show next week. Just because I just want to see how big of a shit show it is. So yeah, you can look for that. But yeah, other than that, it's just like I'm getting my life situated, and just check out my thoughts on my Twitter. Look at it at the bottom of the screen.
Cassie, you're up.
Yeah, guys, it was fun, obviously, hanging out with you guys. Even though I guess I was the outcast of the barroom tonight. But yeah, Cult Classic Cage on YouTube, Twitter, Kick. I'm actually going to be streaming shortly on Kick tonight. So if you guys are bored and you want to watch me play Fortnite and talk shit and have fun and not have to worry about getting booted off of a platform because it actually kind of wants creators to indulge, definitely check out Kick. I'll post it actually here for you guys. So yeah, definitely look forward to my Thursday stream, where we're going to talk about a lot of insanity that's been going on as of late. It's been Activision falling apart, which has been interesting, because they apparently have a problem with leave little children alone. Apparently that's problematic in modern day politics. So yeah, we're going to talk about that and talk about all sorts of gaming stuff. So if you're into that, definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel, Cult Classic Cage.
Leave them kids alone. Pink Floyd said it best.
Let you guys know what we got coming up here. So this Friday night, we have another movie night. We're watching Rob's favorite movie in the whole wide world, Twister. We finally landed on Twister after a full year of being on the wheel. We were finally watching it this Friday night, so that's going to be a Rumble and Twitch exclusive. To join us there for that one. Last week, we watched Invasion USA with Chuck Norris. Had a great time with that one. That is up on our Rumble page right now if you want to go back and rewatch that one. So check that one out. Next Monday, like I said, Rob won't be here, but it looks like we will be getting Christian Toto. Trap Queen is going to be joining us on Monday, and Mexican Iron Man will probably be joining us on Monday too. We'll be talking about The Flash, Extraction 2, and we might also be talking about that Wes Anderson movie. There's like 5 new movies coming out this week. There's no way we're going to get to all of them, so I'm kind of condensing them right now to Flash, Extraction 2, and then was it Asteroid City?
The Blackening.
No, I'm taking that one off. Like we don't need to discuss that one. Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, just focus on Extraction 2 and then Flash, and then we'll get a Wes Anderson one if it's available, because I know that's limited, so not everyone's going to have access to that one. So that's coming up next Monday night on the show. So follow us there, and then we'll be back here at episode 53 of the Barroom Podcast next week. So to everyone joining us in the chat, I can roll through this one: JEC, Alex vs. Evil, Neo, Doba Fett, Zio Dozer, Vanya, Darko, Duke Nukem, Michael Joe, Christopher Dominguez. Who else do we have on here? DK, Spencer was here with us tonight. CS Johnson somewhere in the mountains in Tennessee or something nonsense like that. So she listened to us in spirit. I want to make sure I get everyone. Tactus Jones, Bushpan Down. Who else did I miss? Did I miss anybody else? Did I get everyone else?
Michael Joe.
Yeah, Michael Joe. John was here a little bit ago. So, yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, yeah, Copa. I don't want to forget Copa. Drax the Clown, another guy don't want to forget as well. I'm pretty sure Mephisto will be here. Like, as the credits is rolling, he wanted to be here, pretend like he was here the whole time. Excalibur joining us here tonight. Yeah, I think that's everyone. If I missed you guys, I'm sorry. But until then, we're going to head out of here. Yeah, that's it. It's opening limited here, but I don't know if it's a wide one yet, so we'll have to wait and see. Which is why we're focusing on the 2 for now, and then if it turns out it's not wide, maybe we'll put time for the Blackening, but no, I'm not looking forward to that one, so I don't think anyone is. But until then, we'll see you guys hopefully on Friday night for Twister, Monday night for the movie review show, maybe next Tuesday night for this show again. So adios, we're getting out of here. Good night, people.